What's up, everybody? This is Edward back with another video. This will be if some folks want to come up, you can definitely come up. Um, so anyway, this is gonna be a little quick, open, hangout. Me saying what's up, me and kind of using up. Well, it is what it is. But anyone to comment on. So Obsidian just pulled up a video of a clip with him talking to C Boogie and I guess Cynthia G. And basically, Cynthia G made the ineffective black man argument. She basically, why is this? It's not even significant, but why am I even doing a video? Well, basically, she laid out. She tried to make the case as far as why black women deal with black men, even though she makes the claim that black men are ineffective as a group. So she makes the claim that black men are ineffective as a group because they don't build anything, they don't own and control thing, which is actually not true. We own and control some things. We just don't own and control shit on the scale as of what white men own. But if you compare what we have and what we have control over with other groups of African American or African amount, that's the only main reason why people fuck with us to the extent that they do is because of our economic power. And I'm talking about money that we have that we make as a collective unit. Even if you remove non-ADOS diaspora black people from the equation in America. Anyway, um, the idea anyway, but going forward, so he did a video with that, doing a clip, and she made that argument. And basically, she tried to say, well, of course the women are going to choose the best looking men from an NFL. Basically, she co-signed what the gynocracy was. The biggest thing here, what's up, Jordan Johnson, is this. Number one, she low-key admitted that black women do have control over the community. And even though she tries to lay the blame of black women having control of black men's effectiveness, which another thing too is this is why shout out to Dr. Tierson Johnson as well. You can't be pro-black and hate black men. You just can't. And I don't mean black boys. You can't be pro-black and hate black men. Just like thing to understand what the gynocracy is, it's another thing to hate black women. You just can't, because really you become invested in the very or actually you're supposedly supposed to be against by definition of you being pro-black. And this is not something just women do. This is something that men do as well. And at the end of the day, Cynthia, the reason why anybody really talks about Cynthia G is because she is kind of like the patron saint of everything negative about black women. All of the issues, the trauma, it's just in one package. You can just point that out as kind of a straw man argument, because there are a lot of women that feel the way she feels. They'll admit it sometimes, but it just doesn't matter because they go on their daily day. Tory Lane's album. And so Obsidian made the argument that basically you can't here and then say, all these men are ineffectual, but then take the you out of the equation. He called it taking a knee. The reality of the situation is women are not supposed to deal and appropriate with quote unquote ineffectual men. This is what people. This is like what women as well is by definition pretty much saying that you shouldn't be treated as a woman, and you're not a woman. You are not a female. They do the shit wrong with you and unhinged from you if you are attracted to men that you deem as ineffectual as a group. That actually makes no sense. That means there's actually something psychological wrong with you if you actually can do that. There is no logical argument if you don't take into account that women are invested in idea of control. When you take a man out of it, the reality of the situation is women want to do what the fuck they want to do without consequences. Now, obviously, the child talking, but it is basically if you break it down to just complete animalistic human behavior, people want to basically, this is kind of like, I forget the argument that people are inherently evil. You have to use laws in order to control. I forget the person came up with that philosophy. That philosopher that really talked about that. But this is the argument. This is the argument in Live and in Living Color. You know, women are basically saying we're going to use this idea of we're oppressed. And there was things that she factually said it was incorrect as well. But we're going to use this idea that we're oppressed in order to constantly push this narrative. And you see LGBT people do it. They basically learned it from black people, where you see the new game is all these groups talk about they're oppressed, including white women. They're all oppressed by something, and then they use that oppression as a way to ask for resources. This is actually how America as a society views what black people have done, when in actuality none of these groups have the same kind of litany and repertoire of history that goes back to what we've actually been able to deal with. Gays have traditionally, number one, white gays have traditionally always been able to hide behind their whiteness. Women are white women, so they have gotten many benefits. They have gotten the most benefits from white supremacy. And so it's always this like facade, and black women do the same thing. It's just black women can make a bigger case because they're black, so they use the intersectionality piece. But what really annoys me about a lot of this shit is just the factual inaccuracy. So first of all, we want to talk about a pay gap, yet we want to claim that black women make more than black men. The truth is, black women don't make more than black men as a collective group, nor do they make more as an individual on average. Well, and this is actually pathetic, because black women have been given every advantage over black men. Black men are basically having one hand and three fingers tied behind their back, versus black women only have a couple of fingers tied behind their back. They are deemed as a non-threat, and therefore they are allowed to actually be more employed in all levels, including the dark levels. Right now, you saw me do a video talking about I will not support support women being able decriminalizing sex work. And you're starting to see more videos with the whore side of the feminists talking about sex workers as sex workers are like some kind of endangered species or shit, as if they're a group that needs to be fucking protected. Like, the resources actually needs to be diverted just to protect sex workers, protect people that are putting themselves in. Think about this for a second. So when we know the facts that black women are definitely not ISO'd out of the job market, as Kevin Samuels will say, retail is the biggest hire, and public sector is the biggest hire, right? Not to mention that women are being given a better push to get pushed into the military. Not to mention that black women are basically being put in a political office, especially local, as police commissioners. This is going to pave the way for more women to go up in there and create laws that are more favorable to women. So job access, the access to work is there. Not to mention the access to public sector benefits is always been there, even though it's getting slowly dialed back. It's still, the job employment part is still there, even though that's getting dialed back. It's still there. Not to mention the tax breaks and all of that in the form of not even take the welfare off, just section 8, fucking the child income credit, all of the lower tax, all of that shit. Yet income wise, black women make less than black men, and black women have more. Black women have less of in every financial metric. And what people don't like to admit is any situation that you put a black man against a black woman, it's supposed to be this way, but black men outperform them. It's just black women have what they have as a consequence of, as a byproduct, more like, of trying to keep black men down, because again, black women are a non-threat. This is why black women are able to protest with Black Lives Matter. This is why they're able to do that, because they serve the purpose of creating control opposition. This is why, and Dr. Tia Sign Johnson, Dr. Tom McCurry talked about this. When black men go out there and protest, it's deemed as a real threat, and it's met by armed force. When black women do it, it's not the same. Even to the point where if it's half men, half women, it's still met with armed force. So, and obviously these things have been chronicled by blackdemographics.com, but they get the stuff directly from the files of the statistics that the federal government put out. But see, we allow to put these narratives out here based on feelings and emotions. And what really annoys me is how a lot of dudes will say it's always like it was a Mary Brown at first. Now it seems to be C Boogie. It's always these people that want to give, that want to say what she's saying. They never want it. You shouldn't leave. Well, first of all, let's be clear here. I'm not even going to blame them, because the truth is, Cynthia G, for the most part, will never debate somebody that she believes she's not above. And what she's using is the quote unquote YouTube following as a way to justify her being above. She would never talk to somebody like a Dennis Sperling and Glenn. She would never talk to anybody like that, because at the end of the day, a lot of the stuff that she says will fall flat when you're faced against the very thing that you say quote unquote doesn't exist. Now the question becomes, like Kevin Samuel show, why is it that you can't get that thing? Now it becomes about you. And you saw that with Kevin when it comes to Janae. When black women use blaming the ultimate crutch for black women is blaming black men. That's the ultimate crutch. It allows them to stay where they are, to never be accountable, because they can point to this thing. And yes, white supremacy has taught them to do that, but ultimately that doesn't harm black men. That harms them. That harms themselves. So the other part she wanted to say, as far as black men being ineffectual as a group, you know, what I would ask any black woman that would say that is, I would say, pick a race. You can't be white. Pick a race. And by the way, you can't look like that race either. Let's assume that race doesn't matter and you look like how you look. So you can't change how you look. So you can't be a Latina and look Latina. So you don't get the benefits of colorism. What group would you want to belong to? Like, if you ask Cynthia G, seriously, would you actually, if you could be a part of the Latin community, like an Amera Negra or something like that, and colorism was not an issue, it was nothing, they never touched you, would you actually choose to be that? If you could go to any other part of the black diaspora and be a part of that community, would you actually choose to be that? If you could be Asian, you couldn't look like it, you'd be on some Naomi Osaka type shit, but would you actually choose to be that? Because the idea is, if racism exists in the United States, then by definition it exists everywhere. If it exists everywhere, it shouldn't be a big deal, right? Would you actually choose to be that? Also, you see what I'm saying? Also, if black men were so ineffectual, because this idea that it's only like 20, it's not just this idea only 20% of black men, it's not 20% of black men that are basically having sex with anybody. It's really 15 to 20% of black women that's having the majority of black kids. But obviously, and by the way, this is actually a big reason for why it's a big threat of dating out, because most of the dudes that are really having the children that are not married are most of the dudes that are not, for the most part, not economically. I'm not gonna say they're not economically doing shit, but as a collective group, the women cannot build an economy around those guys. And so what's happening is, you have other guys that are, quite frankly, not invested in black women because of how black women act, and then they become invested in the other groups. Shout out to O'Shea. This is what leads to shit like the dude with Kentucky, the Kentucky Attorney General. This is what leads to people doing other shit because they're not invested. And O'Shea has done a lot in talking about that over the years. So at the end of the day, what it really comes down to is, this is a big, and see, this is shout out to Green Gorilla. This is a big reason. Shit like that is a big reason why it's so difficult. If you're somebody that's truly pro-black, the reason why you have to get the women in line, because at the end of the day, the women are the representation of the quote unquote community and the culture. They are the representation of the booty that you get for the work that you do. And so if you say, okay, it's like saying, it's like the job market. And I'm gonna say, okay, you're gonna work this job. This is a high labor job. Let's say the military. You're gonna work this job. There's benefits to this job. At the end of the day, you might be called to sacrifice your life, to die, to be killed, to fight a war for a cause you may not actually believe in, but that you swear loyalty to. You have to make the argument in the minds of that individual soldier that decides. That's why the military is a volunteer army too, by the way. You have to make the case that that's actually worth it. And if it's not worth it, then people won't do it. They won't sign up. And obviously the military could draft, but see, black people don't have the ability to draft other black people. I should have retitled this, it's an all volunteer army. And you can't make it anything else. because people always like to frame it like, well, what about your manhood? What about survival? What about this? Well, the reality is, the quote unquote manhood piece, manhood is an individual thing. So, if you're as an individual, and yeah, there's a network piece to it, but a network piece doesn't have to necessarily be race based. That's where the social construct part comes into it. Here, I'm gonna put this down because I want to get some of y'all's opinions. And see, dudes can make the case to opt the fuck out, and they don't even need to. And the thing is, they don't even have to fully opt out. That's the thing. And so when you look at it, I mean, if you're pro black, it's like, where is it? You can't make the argument, because at the end of the day, the ineffectual part is basically, I hate. This is what it ultimately comes down to. It ultimately comes down to this. When I hear the few times that I hear Cynthia G, and I only hear it through clips because I can't shit. Don't get me started. But basically, what it comes down to, I hate myself. I hate myself because I'm black. I can't leave the community because that's already been tried. So therefore, this is all I can be, and I'm gonna project all the hatred and anger I have towards black men, because at the end of the day, whether it's daddy issues or whatever, it's black men's fault that I'm black. And I see this in some mixed chicks too, where ultimately they hate themselves and they project that on black men because society teaches them to do this. And this is why BGS did that Chernobyl video where he said you do it because you can, and then it's such a shitty deal. You just can't even try to make the case for us. You just gotta say, look, it's a shitty deal. I know it's a shitty deal. I'm gonna give you enough respect to tell you it's a shitty deal. But what I am gonna say is I'm gonna tell you that maybe one day down the road you will be remembered, or you might not. But it has to be done because these are the consequences. Nobody can do that because they ultimately know the case can't be made. Nobody's asking really black women to do shit, but actually act like decent human beings. And if you don't want to do that, find another store. This is why I promote. I say black women need to hop. I'd rather black women hop the fence to go be happy and shut the fuck up. Like, seriously, go. Because here's the thing. Here's the value of black women leaving the black community. If black women leave the black community, here's the thing. The charge is the black community is really ineffectual black men, and black women, like ineffectual black men are like some kind of black hole that black women are tied to that they can't escape. They're like light that they can't escape it. And if black men didn't exist, black women would be happy. Okay, make that case, go leave. It's like if you're a free agent and you're not happy with a team or any, like, I don't even need to give you an analogy. You know what the fuck I'm talking about. Job, whatever. You leave. You leave and you go. If you're really not the problem at all, then you go. Because anything of value tends to get absorbed. So at the very least, you all should be able to be absorbed, right? Into other groups. Other groups should see value in you. But you don't see that. You don't see that with black women. Now, black women make all these excuses, colorism, all this bullshit. That's not true. A womb is actually more valuable than a penis. Basically, if you put, because so this idea, so obviously a helpmate is more, because dudes have to put more investment in. So why? And people can say, well, because of America. Okay, well, America is not the only place. America is not where only black people are, not only black men are. Why is it that you don't leave? And this is where it comes back to the video Obsidian was saying. Obsidian was basically saying, because they're invested in it. They're invested in the dysfunction, because just like I said with the LGBT community, a gay black man cannot exist. A gay black man cannot exist and cannot thrive in a functional community. They just can't. Not be open and out there with doing it. They just can't. So they are invested in a community being fucked up. They have to be. They have to be. Otherwise, they can't thrive as much as they would want to. So they are invested in the community being fucked up, because that's the only real. Now, here's what the irony is. The irony is, with certain rules and shit, nobody's saying that it couldn't be something. Everybody has that cousin or that uncle. They ain't gonna have kids, but they're bringing in resources, and they redirect that resources into the family, and they keep the shit that they doing under closed doors. But see, that's that live and be free and be open bullshit. See, that's where the friction would come in. It's the same thing with a gynocracy. A gynocracy cannot exist on its own. That's why, for the most part, you don't see it like that. Even in places like Japan and stuff, it's still not like that. Like that, it's not open like that. Like that. It can't exist. It cannot exist in that way because you need other people to back up. So the very end. So when people say, "Well, black men are ineffectual," what you're seeing, it's almost like you being a traitor, and then basically you being a traitor and putting your people in chains, and then basically saying that they're ineffectual because I was allowed to be able to put them in chains. This is where books like Daughter of the Trade make sense to understand this psychology. Because see, with a woman's gonna say, "Well, because I can, I do." A woman's gonna say, "Because I can, I do." So therefore, my ability to get away with it almost is a low key justification for me to be able to do it, because it's um the only the strongest survive, which is, by the way, white supremacist ideology, by the way. And it's amazing how black women can justify that shit, because you don't really see other women actually shoot their own men. It's one thing to negotiate. I got you, Nameless. It's one thing to negotiate for power and to have this constant struggle back and forth for power. Every group of women has that with every group of their men. That happens everywhere. It's another thing to go to another group of men and basically break your men as a method of you having individual power. Then, because it's one thing to do it and then go over to those other groups of men. It's a whole completely different thing to do the shit. Then you get the doors get locked on your ass to stay right where the men that you basically help break are. Then turn around and complain to those very men about you being betrayed, about what happened, as if it's their fault that they allowed you to do it. Then on top of that, get mad when dudes actually have the nerve to call you on that bullshit, if not outright kill your ass for doing that shit, which in most places would actually happen. And then the other women would actually pretty much get to you before the men would. Look any other way. Anyway, shout out Shatterpoint. Appreciate the super chat.
Hey, salute, fam. How you doing, Ed?
And what's up, Nameless?
Fam, we have gone through the routine with this talking point so many times, and it keeps resubmerging from the abyss, because at the end of the day, you can never escape the influence that intersectional feminism has put on the table to formulate the worldview of so many black women. And knowing that the gynocracy, which really spawned from that and really was empowered, can't deal with the cognitive dissonance in realizing that they have reached diminishing returns with hypergamy. They both have the power, they have both conditioned overtly with the culture and subconsciously with the upbringing, and then consciously with their attempt to achieve and superimpose this idea that they can place masculine values on masculine nature and think that we're going to view the world from their eyes when it comes to mate choice. Like, we get sexually excited to learn about somebody's degree. Like, there's just too many hard things that are based in human nature that you can't change by shaming. You can't change by changing a law, but you can have an environment, and you can have an environment that facilitates a particular kind of behavior. And this is what we see happening, all under the guise of egalitarianism. And it's created this expectation of, I'm going to somehow make everything 50-50, then simultaneously still gain the benefits of a traditional patriarchy, while simultaneously maintaining progressive ideas that are connected to my nature as a female, which says that I'm going to take the resources that I get and maintain them and hold them, while at the same time expecting men to continue to operate on their paradigm, which is getting resources to share with everybody else, including her. And we stack all of that on top of disregarding a man's expectation to, when he's involved with a woman and wants a legacy, to reward behavior that's indicative to this and punish behavior that would jeopardize that or give the image of that being jeopardized, i.e. promiscuous behavior. It is absolutely insane.
Oh yeah, there's a video going around, and I didn't even because I do like go around the at the outskirts of black YouTube, as far as the manosphere, some of the newer channels coming up, or some of the people that you don't see like in our kind of sector, but they would still be considered like black male channels. And this is one video going around. Mediocre Tutorials is another one. Shout out to Solo. He's over on that
Yeah.
side. Yeah, with that video with that chick. And it's and you know what I'm talking about?
I know the content creator. I don't know
Okay,
the particular
so it's a
video.
bit. So you should check. It's this video that's talking about it. Well, I'm not even gonna get into that because right now, like we look, this is my channel, so obviously everybody's up to speed. No, I mean everybody's up to speed on what the gynocracy is, all of that. So really, the thing I want to take this just to make this interesting and not be the typical, the gynocracy is this. These are all the angles that it exists, because it is,
Right.
basically how to deal with it. Because here's the fun thing. The fun thing is it almost doesn't even matter if Trump wins now, because with getting that Supreme Court pick, the only reason why, and here's the thing, I am conservative in my views, but I'm not throwing no shade at nobody. But I understand the difference between black men being traditionally conservative is juxtaposed to a lot of the Democrat LGBT slash ultra liberal bullshit,
Right.
versus being somebody that would be what I call a hyper assimilationist, or being pro-white. I understand the difference. I know how to see the difference and detect the difference quickly. And most conservatives like lump all that shit in there, and it becomes this like ideology that always ends up turning into this like ultra libertarian, hyper individualist, pro-white ideology.
Right.
Even if they don't mean so. I want people to be very clear about that. But with that being said, and we could call like black conservative traditional manhood. What most black men would call traditional manhood or manhood is pretty much more on the conservative side, as juxtaposed against like the Democrat BLM, all that bullshit. So
Right.
with that being said, one of the things that I want to talk about, because here's the thing, in this channel, I talk a lot about the power of choice.
Right.
And it's not just, and notice how I said, even on this right now in this video, I said, in my opinion, black women need to just I don't even care about them shutting up, but they need to stop blaming black men. And if black men are ineffectual, they need to just go. Like a woman is not supposed to be sexually attracted to an ineffectual man. Like if you perceive because think about it like this. If you look at like Kappas, for example, the idea of a Kappa to certain sororities or certain women that understand that, you could take the same dude, he may be short, he may be not ugly, but he wouldn't be like the first choice this woman would do. But because he's a Kappa, he might be right in that borderline because he's a Kappa, and she knows that and believes that she might give him at least a look as far as accepting him coming up to her and stuff, when she might not otherwise, right? So we understand how what a woman thinks of a group does influence how they feel about an individual man. You see it with white men. You see it
Correct.
with everybody with white men.
Correct.
That magic is not carrying what it used to carry anymore, which is why a lot of these white boys are going red pill anyway. But the point is, if you understand that, then you understand that if you really believe that black men are ineffectual as a group, you really believe that, that's cool. Then what does that, and Obsidian said this, what does that say about you, the fact that you still appropriate with those sets guys? Because at that point, is it that that's the best you can do and you know it? Or have you tried and you've been thrown out?
And see,
There's white men, Latin men, Afro Latinas. There's a lot of different variety. Black ain't the only thing out there. Go ahead.
right. So when you look at the
And
fact
I got
that,
you, Windu.
oh my bad, Windu. I'll just finish this
No,
thought.
no,
And
no.
I'll
I
jump in
want you to
again.
go, then Windu. Then Windu can go.
Okay, cool. So when you look at the fact that I think the numbers last check for 2020 was 93% of relationships and marriage or whatever was done between black women and black men. And it was 85% for black men and everybody else or whatever. It really implies the fact that the reason why this is going down is because you can't take your culture that you've cultivated in the gynocracy and see it tolerated anywhere else that doesn't have a very similar incubator for it to plug in. It's kind of like having a charger and no
Exactly.
adapter anywhere else. You can't plug in and operate the same way. You have to get a converter. In other words, you have to let go of that dynamic when you go into a different environment. And right now, any man, and it's interesting. We had this conversation one time with the African diaspora, And we made the note that folks that have parents that are from the continent, when they go to these European countries and they decide to go back home to their main country, they find that it's much easier for men to do this for a plethora of reasons, really. But at the end of the day, a lot of it is just a socialization expectation.
Yeah, because when men have to be more agreeable with women, it makes them actually a lot more appealing to other women. Versus women, when they got to be less agreeable to men, it makes it less appealing to other men that are more patriarchal. Go ahead.
And George Peterson goes in deep detail about the whole concept of agreeableness. But we're back again to just intersectionalism, but feminism as a whole, particularly in the third wave, denying this aspect of male and female nature, especially when it doesn't suit the narrative. So if you don't take into consideration that, again, at the end of the day, you can only maintain this cultural dynamic here in the US, really, it explains why other groups of people don't tolerate it at the same level. And it leaves you in this position where if you're from their perspective, you're stuck here. And so here goes the resentment, here goes the bitterness, here goes the I'm upset y'all ain't built nothing. But then we go back to the Moynihan report, which explains very clearly why it's literally the self-fulfilling prophecy that's keeping that from happening. Because you can't expect men to want to cooperate in a scenario where they're not going to be given authority, but they're going to be front-loaded with all this responsibility, especially when the responsibility isn't in their hands and they're expected to operate on altruism.
Well, time out, nameless. Like, I'm not bringing up a lot of people, but brother Way, you want to come in, you can. First of all, like, one of the things that I would recommend you do, God, and I say this with I say this, in good faith, is you really need to kind of, you know what, I'm gonna take personal responsibility, because the manosphere has existed way too long for us to not have like a curated list of videos, like what I should call them, like, the source, like the 5 mic videos
Compendium
from the different channels that basically say, here's the quick version, here's the long version, game yourself up, whether it's BGS stuff, whether it's some of SWP shit, because SWP got about 10 good, really, really strong videos. And I mean, just some of the best YouTubers that have different experiences. So we got all the angles covered, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
From the more pro-black folks to get it, to people, BGS is obviously pro-black, to the folks, from all angles, even I think all of them, right? Not all of them, but just the best curated ones. The problem is we get newer people, and this is whether they're dissenters or not, and we don't say, here's this YouTube. I mean, YouTube clear as a platform has this. Here's the YouTube playlist. Here's the link for it. Go through the videos, go. And then have, like, quite frankly, quite a few, depending on what type of your sensibilities, whatever, just so you can speed your way through it. Because, see, I listen to a lot of these videos at 1.5, 1.75 playback speed, sometimes 2, depending on how somebody talks. And it allows you to kind of understand all of the angles of what we're talking about, including a lot of the arguments a lot of these females have made too, that we curated over the years to show what we're talking about. Because there's been times where women have basically said outright, this is one of these cases with Cynthia G, that we are going to fuck men based on control and our sexual desires, and we can do that anyway. This is why when people talk about don't complain about single mothers, but you still fucking them, I'm like, dudes are going to do that, because at the end of the day, it's two different things. Anyway, my point is that's on us. So what happens is people jump into these live, because honestly, a lot of these live conversations, we assume we're not really talking to newer people. This is not for us, for newer people, as far as how we articulate it. It's really for people that's been listening, that already kind of knows, that know the videos and know some of the things that's happened in history. So if you are more than, let's say, a year in the manosphere, you don't really, a lot of things could come off a different type of way.
So do you think
and it wastes a lot of time?
Do you think the manosphere is axiomatic then? Because I mean, I asked that question the other day, and it's kind of like the feeling I'm getting when I sit down and I take on the tone that, and I'm not trying to single Brother Ray out, but it's like, unless you have certain fundamentals understood and you've gone through that long explanation as to why, and you've gone through the law of averages to break down why certain concepts are considered canon, you know, it's almost like you have to have a baseline explanation to really be on the same page. You see what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, and the thing is, there's a quick way to do that. And what happens is people come into these live streams. I've seen it's. I mean, it's like always dudes that come in these live streams here in real time, and they always come because they come back to the same shit. You're complaining, you're doing this. The reason why I even highlighted Brother Ray's thing because he's or Ray. I'm gonna start calling him Ray. Fuck that whole that Brother Ray shit. Ray, because Ray said, well, high value males. I'm not talking about high value males. I didn't mention that. I'm not. Well, I did mention Kevin Samuels, so I'll give you that. But other than that, we're talking about men at this point. We're talking about. I'm talking about my channel is about three key things, but really two. The gynocracy exists, and the gynocracy fucking has you. The white man is a problem, but the guy not. You can never be competitive as a group. You cannot be competitive as a group without uncooperative women. Point blank.
Right.
Period. That I don't and no, I don't give a fuck. There is no chicken and egg bullshit where dudes are just because and here's why I'm gonna prove this, because let's say dudes are technically competitive as a group. You know what they're gonna do? They're gonna get women that fits what the fuck they want, and you might not like the women they go get.
Yep.
Because those dudes are gonna think about that generation. Let's say you have a generation of black men that are kicking ass and taking names, and the women were not involved in that. Because this fantasy that behind every strong black man or solid brother is a black woman. No, behind every strong black man is usually black women trying to fuck them up. Anyway, those men are gonna basically choose women for their generation. They're not gonna think like legacy as far as I want my kids to look like me, because everybody hasn't been trained on white supremacy like that in the sense of the antithesis of that. You even see that with Africans. You see that with Africans. When Africans go to Europe, these Africans, look, I love African brothers, Caribbean brothers, but let's keep this already. These motherfuckers are a lot more high likelihood to hop the fucking fence with women that are typically more cooperative than black men are. And I get why. A lot of that is because, we've been around white women as far as like media and shit. So it's not something, it's like, oh my fucking God, it's just like a fucking cracker, like in Matrix, you add real bread versus fake bread. It's not like that for us, but they're kind of a means to an end. Versus them, it's almost like I gotta do this, but I gotta deal with this because I've never accessed it before. So my overall point is this. You don't get the intergenerational piece without the women being involved, because the women have to be a key integral part as far as imprinting the next generation to want to deal with those same women, which deals with your same people. This is why SWP used to say that black women that bitch about colorism, they have to be willing. They can't bitch about colorism, but you're not willing to imprint the boys with your beauty type. You gotta, like, a Marilyn Negra's gotta be that bitch on a wall, and you have Instagram now, so it's not like it's hard. The black women gotta want to be that bitch on the wall. I hate to say it, that these little boys jack off to. I hate to say it like that, but I'm just gonna say it like they got that dark skin, and this is a big reason why I promote a Marilyn Negra, because I'm not saying that's what she's doing, but my point is when she wears that wig, that fro and all that, those beauty markers are functionally what a lot of women should be doing if you're gonna be on some hoe shit. If not that Marilyn Negra's on some whole shit, but if you're gonna do that, that would be the functional reason why you would want to do that, or why that would be accepted. So that's the main thing. The other thing that I talk about is the social contract piece. Doesn't matter high value men. So we're talking about human capital. So Ray, we're not talking about like if you make a lot of money or not. We're talking about a black man as human capital. So you should be fine with this, because this is about the manhood piece you're talking about. Because at the end of the day, a black man is born in a check. And there's certain things intrinsic that a black man brings that money might not necessarily have anything to do with. So now we're on your side of it. But at the same time, if you look at how that's practiced in a functional relationship, that's not usually what happens. What usually happens is you're basically a concubine, and you're allowed to believe that you're a man based on her being compliant for that time. So these are the two things and then the other thing is and how a black man navigates through such environment to win on his terms. So it has nothing to do with high value men in this case, and a lot of times people hear certain cues based on what's popular, and they start, doing this anti stuff, whether we're not even on the same page as far as motherfuckers disagree and don't even know what they're disagreeing with. And I'm just saying that to give everybody the opportunity. They may be dissenters, because look, I love the dissenters, because I love my shit being challenged, because We're talking. It makes it steel sharpen steel. But go ahead,
Well, let me jump in here
Archer.
right quick because
I think
I just came up. I'm sorry, brother. Let me say this right quick to brother right now. I'll be done. I'll shut the fuck up. One reason why high value men do not most time are single, if they are single, is because a man's idea is not to settle down as quick as possible. That's why it's called settling the fuck down. And the more high value you are, the longer you can delay that because you have longevity to keep fucking around.
Which is cold for the women, which is cold for they're single because the women don't want them. Black men are more married than black women. Like it's easy for a black man to commit to marriage and put his money up. That is it. Come on, man.
But high value men are not single. They might be single, but they're never alone. I've been single before. Don't mean I didn't fuck a bitch the other night. Don't mean I got 3 or 4 girls.
Well, Archer, that comes back to the 53% of black men that are childless must not be fucking argument.
Right.
And that's really where that comes from.
That's such a feminine argument, as if a man's priority is to get married. That's not his priority.
Or to be validated by a woman.
That's a woman's priority. Mm-hmm. So a man being single says nothing about his value. It says something about where his mind is at the time. That's why the saying is settle down for men. That's why it said, men, you haven't settled down. It has nothing to do with him. The woman has to catch the man at his high point. The man doesn't have to catch the woman because he's always at his high.
There's no biological clock.
There's no there's no clock. We're not in a fucking hurry, bro.
I mean, you can ask Alan Roger Curry that.
It's not rocket science. You can ask, what's his name? They just married the 19-year-old chick. What's his name? The singer.
Marcus Houston.
Houston. There's no rush.
And they hot about that.
But what you're talking about, Archer, at the end of the day goes back to what we said earlier. Also, salute to you, fam. It goes back to the fact that they're ignoring the differences in masculine and feminine nature, even on a biological level, because they're stuck on this idea of egalitarianism by definition, legally and biologically. You understand what I'm saying?
Which is why, by the way, people get mad and say Kevin, and I got you, Windu. People get mad and say Kevin's being mean. No, he's not. What he's doing is that reality is coming crushing with bricks. And you can't then say, well, the nigga's ugly. Well, he look broke. You can't do that. Now you have to be faced with a physical person that you can actually see and then make those arguments. And then this is really the kicker. It doesn't matter about Kevin. That's not what makes this art. That's actually not what makes the point. The point is you got a whole bunch of women that are listening. Most of those people that are watching that show are women. It's at least 50, if not 75%. So and they watches that show. So you are now in front of your peers. They are women, not no peers that are black men. These are your peers. And by the way, Kevin runs his shit. And I don't want to make it about Kevin, but he runs his shit. He does not allow dudes just to completely collapse on women in the chat like that. Mm-hmm. So the point is, this is an environment this is almost like, okay, you're in the black community. You have a black DA. You have a black judge. You have hell, it's gender represented. You have a jury that's gender represented. So you can't make an argument the system's broken, because in every aspect of the system, you're being judged by people that are your peers. They understand your experiences. And so that's really what the issue is. Here's the thing. If Kevin was only rocking maybe like 500, within normal levels, 500, 400 viewers, I think people would be more adept to want to wild the fuck out. Even when you looked at when Crystalline Carrison called in, you're dealing with a lot of women to get to see that shit on a channel that can generate a lot of views. So even David Carroll said that. He said you can't dodge that. And this is a big reason, by the way, that a lot of women, like bigger YouTubers, never put themselves in that situation. If they do interviews, if they do it, it's only going to be them. It's not going to be anyone else. But this is why they typically don't do it, because they know that unless it's just going to be a completely softball interview, you're going to be asked a question that you don't really have an answer to because you're just used to deflecting it off. So anyway, when do you jump in and give your thoughts? I'm actually going to allow a lot of y'all to talk a little bit more. We're going to experiment with that. I'm doing something real quick. I mean, I'm going to be listening, but I'll just guide the conversation.
Peace, good brothers.
First, have you seen the video I'm talking about?
No, sir. What is it?
Okay, it doesn't matter. Go ahead.
Okay, well, here's the thing. I jumped on. First of all, I really wanted to just come and support your channel because I love you and Nameless's talking points, and NC Worker. We've been on Roger Report Live also together. But I hear the narrative, and also while I got you on here, Nameless, can you recommend a book that deals with the social dominance theory?
Let me get back to you on that.
That's fine. That's
Let me
fine.
get
Even in
back
the
to you
back
on
chat
that.
is fine
Yeah.
because I'm a student of life, and I'm curious about social dynamics. I'm certainly curious about, well, of course, esoteric. And to your point earlier, Edward, you said that it would be nice to have a place where people could go who are or come entering the manosphere could go get a kind of an overview or be brought up to speed on certain things by different content creators. Not to do a shameless plug, but on my channel, which is the Shatter Point, I have playlists that are designed just for that purpose. I have
Okay, no, absolutely. Put the link in the description, and I'll pin it.
you got it, brother. But I had a conversation with a sister about a week ago. Ricky Smiley made a post on Facebook saying, all black women should be protected. You know,
Of course he did. I'm gonna start calling this shit. I'm gonna start calling radio Blue Pill Radio. Go ahead.
so unfortunately, me and my big mouth, I got on there and I said, does that include from themselves? And the reason I asked that question that way is simply because a lot of times, having a mother, have a sister. I mean, I don't have any sisters. Having a cousins and nieces, and women in my family, and just people in general, women in general that I actually care about. I'm thinking like, well, I watched them make some really bad decisions, and I've also watched them make those decisions intentionally, keeping those decisions away from the men in their family so that they could not protect them. And I told the woman, I said, when I asked her that question, she took offense to it. Now the irony is, I wasn't even talking to her, but she took up the man. I guess she wanted to put me in my place. So I explained to her. She says, "Well, no, mainly from black men, protect us from black men." And I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa!" And I had to kind of scream on her a little bit because I'm honestly offended by that. I don't get offended easily, but I was offended by that statement because it encapsulates all black men as though we are that stereotypical brute beast.
You sure you didn't see the video that Obsidian put?
No, I didn't see it.
Shit. Go ahead.
So, but the good part about the manosphere is a lot of the talking points are congruent. We tend to pick up. I could go from one panel to another, and we basically have the same conversations in a way that's slightly different. But when I answered the sister, I said, "Look, my stay-at-home wife, living in a 4,000 square foot house, driving a BMW. She is protected, flat out." So she was like, well, not your wife. What about when she goes outside?" I'm like, well, no black man owes a random black woman protection. The community doesn't even know her that. And I'm like, I protect what my name is on. My name is on my wife, I protect her. If my family, I protect them. If it's somebody that I know and care about, I'll protect them as well. But
I don't mean to cut you off again. Darian Dunn, this is my channel. I cut people off when I want to.
You got it, baby.
Anybody that tells me I need to let others speak will be fucking blocked. Shoot them on sight for my moderator. Go ahead.
You cool, bro. So I just but I was kind of excited. I saw you up, EA, and I was like, wow, yo, I really enjoy yours and Nameless's talking points when I see you on panels. You always bring the fire. And I always walk away learning something new. And I'm not ashamed to say that in this space because that's what we're here for. That's part of the reason we're here for. So, I had a back and forth with this lady. And I'm just to share, like, kind of what you were alluding to with Kevin Samuel's channel. He is destroying the delusion, one caller at a time. I've listened to him. He has a method. It's ironic because you can tell when the sisters call up and they start lying to him, and he's like, "Nah, He cuts them off. Nope, you're not telling the truth. As BGS say, I call bullshit. And I listen to this, and I think that's pivotal for us. I've only been around in the manosphere for about 4 or 5 years. I've been mostly a silent watcher and listener. And to be honest with you, I've picked up so much information, whether it be through BGS, whether it be the Black Ram, whether it be through, I could just go on with the content creators, yourselves even. And I realized that that's the number one thing that they're dealing with is that delusion. They just will not shake that delusion that of an unrealistic Disney fairy tale princess BS that they've been fed for generations now, particularly under feminism.
You know what we call that?
What is that?
Ed is going to understand this completely. We call it market correction.
I get you.
Oh yeah.
No, I get you.
Oh yeah, it is. And
It is. It is.
Market correction is a bitch, man.
Mhm.
Remember, when you see company. Anyway, the thing that kills me is what you said, Windu, was the fucking just the reflex. And I'm like, when people say other black men, and I'm like, that shit really gets on my fucking nerves when black people say that shit. Because here's the first argument that I say anybody in my family would never say shit like that around me. There, I know what time it is. But I would say, well, then you need to go ahead and get you a white dude, get you a Latin dude. Go ahead, because the truth is, you need your ass whooped by another dude just so you understand that this idea that black men. Let me say this. I don't want to go on a long rant. Here's the reality of what they're talking about when they say that, and this is with the video that Obsidian uploads. Black women are complaining about black men that they're sexually attracted to. The same bitch that says I need a man that can fucking handle me is the same bitch bitching when they get handled. Like, think about that shit. It's like, and even Cynthia G said that she's attracted to toxic black men. The problem is black women have become so masculine that the only black man that they will submit to is a black man. For the most part, they will put their fucking hands on them generally. Now, obviously, this is not all black women, but a lot of these women that talk this shit, that's really what they're talking about. And this comes back to the protecting them against themselves, because they are making, even O'Shea did O'Shea did a video about in the church about the pastor has literally got like 5 baby mamas. And this is not like a crazy pastor. This is a pastor of a mega church. And light-skinned chick divorced them because he had a kid with a 17-year-old. So that opens a whole bunch of the shit. In fact, he's able to still be a pastor and the congregation deals with him. But the point is, she actually is going back to that dude. Now, this is not a dude that's a Pookie or Ray Ray or anything like that. This is a, church dude, not like a former drug dealer church dude or anything like that. And the point is, her dad, who comes from like an affluent family, was saying not to go back. The children they have together were telling her not to go back because he's a bad dad. I'll give you the email. Was a bad dad. Yet she's making the decision to do that. Think about that. And that's taking it out of the Pookie and Ray Ray crap. This is just in the church. That tells you everything. This is why I say culture is under the areas of activity. It affects all areas of activity. Because even in the church, where you should never see something like that, because people should be on code, at least when it comes to scandal, oh no, she still does it. And this is not a woman. This is a woman that comes from a good family. Doesn't have any of the delusions Cynthia G has or anything like that. And yet that's still what she's doing. And that tells you everything about the dichotomy and how all aspects of whether it's class and stuff, it's affected. So when women say this knee-jerk shit, because that's another thing on instant work, a lot of shit that they say, it's reflex. That's what I noticed. Like when I actually ask questions like, why would you say that? And actually you go through questions like Kevin does, and they say, oh, well, it's other black men. So when's the last time another black man has smacked your ass up? Tell me about that. Well, it hasn't really. So what the fuck you talking about? So it gets still. Well, he cheated on me. I'm like, bitch, what the fuck? What? And it comes down to they want black men to regulate black men that they want to fuck, which is what that video with O'Shea was talking about. And you can't see that in no other group. Usually what happens is, as a woman, you're kicked out of the group if you operate that way, because there's a lot of bullshit you bring to you. But dudes are not going to regulate what you do with your pussy unless they actually going to regulate what you do with your pussy. They're not going to regulate the penises. Like Arabs don't regulate penises. They regulate the pussy.
And see, the thing is so interesting that people do not take into consideration the implications of this word culture, because again, we're one of the only groups of people who've operated where most of that was absorbed involuntarily on the plantation. And we don't want to admit that a lot of what our culture has been a matter of reacting to jacked up ass conditions with no resources predicated on struggle.
Unquestioned. All right, I'll put my email down there.
I mean, you see that,
but
you see that with everything black women talk about. When it comes to domestic violence, when it comes to single parents or the black man leaving the household, or you even see that when it comes to child abuse. Like, they all say it's happening, but when you ask them if it's happened to them personally, it's never happened to them. They've never been beat up. It happened. They've never been beat up. They've never had a man leave them. Every boyfriend or every guy they had a kid with, they left him.
It's projection.
None of that shit ever happens. They buy.
It's a collective. It's a collective group thing.
Yeah.
And because it happened to one, it happened to all.
Well, here's the thing, like Edward and anybody on the panel, if you've ever done sales, you're probably familiar with this term, the law of averages. So, and this is why I guess this is probably going to be the direction I start going with the next scroll I do. Really speaking about the social sciences, because to speak to Archer's point right now, there's a tendency in social science to equate human behavior to the way an element behaves. So if you take an element, a molecule of iron, and you aggregate it to a block of iron, you can look under a microscope and anticipate how that block of iron is going to behave, because the molecules are uniform. Well, when you look at human behavior, there's a lot of things that go into how it's going to behave. So when you look at that individual molecule, it doesn't indicate the way it's going to behave when you aggregate it. But when you aggregate it, depending on its culture, you can then utilize the law of averages to anticipate and direct and influence that behavior and even predict it. And this is why the conversation gets very difficult when you use things like anecdotal experiences to explain social behavior, which creates phenomenon that Archer just described, where an individual can have the same type of mentality, even though they never went through those experiences. Yeah. It's because they inherit those experiences through the culture.
Yo, let me say this right quick, because this is something else I've noticed about that thing you just said about uniformed culture. I've met black women who were 18 years old, never been in a relationship, but had trust issues. I literally said to like 3 girls, how are you 18, never had a relationship, probably even a virgin, but have trust issues? How the fuck does that work?
Inherited through the culture. And people really
shout out Black Hoover Strikes with the super chat.
Salute Black Hoover. But yeah, I think that's a real big issue that, you know, we miss because we never get an opportunity to study ourselves, if that makes sense. But go ahead.
Right. We always sitting, you know, again, I said this on a panel earlier today. We're trying to examine the picture while we're standing in the frame, so we don't get the vantage point that we need necessary to make the corrections is in the most effective way, you know. And that I guess that little bit of online skirmish with that woman talking about you know, outside the community and black men from black men. I'm like, and you know, like you, Edward Anders, I was just absolutely offended because I know, first of all, I come from a family of men. When I say family of men, obviously I mean through lineage. You know, I knew my grandfathers, both of my grandfathers. I know my father. I know my uncles, all of them. You know, and when you get into that situation, you start talking to me greasy. That's greasy to me. That's the slanderous almost. It's like, nah. We don't operate that way. And I talked about it earlier on the panel earlier with, I was like, first of all, let's qualify, you know, I'm not talking about, when I say men, I'm not talking about generic males. That's the first thing. And I think a lot of us in this space understand that concept. We're not talking about generic males. And I'm not necessarily talking about the high value or regular Joes or the street dudes. I'm not talking about that either. When I'm talking about men, they come in all shapes, sizes, financial statuses, vocations, education levels. They do, but you know, the one thing that unifies them is their commitment, their ability to produce, their ability to be congruent, their character, their integrity. Those are the things that I'm, to my understanding, is what manhood is about, and that's often overlooked, particularly by our women, if I can call them that, because that's not something they value, because they're looking more for the utility of us rather than for the actual qualities that make a good man. That's why she go out, and I was saying this when had this conversation with the sister. She was like, you know, protect from other black men. I'm like, yo, you don't even know the situations. I know too many young sisters that go out there 15, 16 years old, sneaking around, doing what they do. Somebody done talk their panties off. They done got it. They done got the yams. She don't want nobody in her family to know because she knows she ain't supposed to be doing it because her father be upset. It's a bunch of bullshit. It just is a bunch of bullshit, and I get tired of that narrative. I get tired of that narrative being one-sided, and I'm so thankful for the Manosphere because of that. This space gives us an opportunity to talk through those things, work through those things, deal with those things out in the open, so that we know that we're all going through the same thing. A lot of these brothers out here got young daughters that go out there and do that act a fool and then come home pregnant or had 3 and 4 abortions. Listen, man, I taught high school, man, for real. I know young girls had 2 abortions a year. And I remember listening to little young sisters, is 15, 16 years old, looking at boys in the hallway talking about, I want a baby by him. They didn't want the boy. They didn't want a relationship. They didn't want to belong to him, be married to him, or anything. They simply wanted a baby by him because baby satisfies their biological imperative and it allows them to claim a status that they're not really necessarily deserving of.
Have you read that book again, The American Slave Coast Family?
No, sir.
Please,
I'm writing it down. American Slave Coast thing. I'm peeping game.
Yeah, we need like a collective book list too. Like I gotta stop being lazy and get that blog open as aggregator of a lot of stuff. But think about how insane. Think about how insane.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know, there's programs out there where you can actually have the program read the book, and you can kind of like just like it would read the book, and then it'd be like on YouTube.
Audio book.
Yeah, like an audio book, but it read the book.
But no, if he's talking about like text to speech.
Yeah, it read the book for you. That way you can translate the audio book and put it on like YouTube or something. There's ways to get this information out there. But I'll have a question for you, brothers. And quick question. Have y'all seen that video of the girl twerking and her boyfriend came in yelling at a man?
Oh yeah, I saw that. That shit was funny to me.
It was funny, but did you see the women's reaction to that? How they basically were calling him an abusive man, angry man, and was pointing out how black men are abusers because he responded to her showing all of her goodies to everybody in the restaurant and basically disrespecting.
I mean, but the next thing somebody, but you know what? That's what they sexually attract. See, the thing about it is, you could even look at how she actually responded. That's how I looked at it.
She had a smile on her face.
That's what she had. She that's what she liked. That's for her. That's her showing how he shows. You know, women like that they have the power to get a dude like crazy like that. Yeah. And even then, even at that point, that shit could have been a whole bunch of show. Because if you actually look at that, he went after another dude. He didn't have to go after her, but she thought that shit was cute. And so it's this double double thing when it comes to shit like that. You know, like let's stop acting. To her, that's not boring.
So like intersectionalism goes into that a lot too, where you know they try to recondition men to look at that same scenario Archer just presented as a man, quote, demonstrating confidence because he's willing to let his girl be seen like that. Yeah. And a lot of these chicks really grow up not thinking anything's wrong like that because they get conditioned to that so early, like it goes over their head. And you had mentioned earlier about how, you know, at the end of the day, a lot of black women need to get exposed to men of other cultures so they understand how good they have it. And it's funny because when I was in the DC area a lot, you already know there's mad African diaspora out there. One of the main complaints you heard, 2 things. 1, they were mad brothers was getting with the women. And 2, they would talk about how there's no way they get with an African dude because they know that he'd be beating her ass.
Oh yeah, I heard that. I've heard a black girl say she wouldn't date an African dude because they're too strict. And I've heard an African girl say she only likes dating African American men because he lets her get away with it. I had a Somalian girl tell me she doesn't date Somalian men because black men are easier to deal with. Black men let her get away with more. And since I was dating her at the time, I took offense to that. I'm like, what the fuck do you mean I'll let you get away with more?
You know what, brother? It's funny you should say that because I was having a conversation with Black Uru earlier on another panel, and I had to be very mindful because I wanted to be respectful of the guests, and I do want to be respectful of your channel as well, Edward. We were talking about the one thing one particular thing that delineates, that is a demarcation difference between men and women, and that's our physical strength and our physical prowess, and how that was through feminism has been weaned out of us, so that ideologically we think, oh my God, you're an abuser if you take foot to ass. And the reality is, and I'm not, please, I want to be respectful of your channel. I don't want to say that we should or shouldn't, because I'm not saying that at all. I'm not
And that's
saying that
part of the
any man,
problem.
yeah, I'm not saying that men should
I'm not afraid to
abuse
say it.
a woman. I'm simply saying that when you take away a major tool of dominance in a home or in a culture, now you're dealing with whatever is left over. So really, offshoot of, or a response to not being able to correct your family, correct your wives, correct your daughters, even in our communities, is the fact that we just have to walk away. MGTOW movement, Ibmore, all of those things are a part of that response. Because, well, if I can't help you understand, because even esoteric literature with regard to the Bible, it says, man who spares the rod hates his child. And I'm not talking about women as children, but they act like it.
Are they?
And
Oh my
go ahead.
God.
And so what happens is, sometimes just the threat, not even the fact that you'll actually do it, not that you'll go upside her head, no shit like that, kick her, stomp her, nothing like that. But sometimes the fact that you have a much more physical presence than she has, and you could check a behavior before it gets out of hand, will stop so many things. And please, brothers, if you are listening, I am not advocating the abuse of women. I'm not advocating
Why do you
putting your
keep
hands.
saying that? Just
I'm saying that because let me tell you why. I guess it's the little bit of blue pill
All right,
residue left in me.
first of all,
Just
I
let me
just
say
want to
this.
be.
No. I hear what
come
you're
on, man.
saying, but at the same time, the reality is, it don't matter how much you saying you ain't gonna do it. These hoes gonna believe what they want to believe.
you're trying.
Chances
Wait,
are,
you're
and hold on, I
what?
want to say this and be very clear here. If a nigga slap the shit out you, no, he shouldn't do that. If he slaps the shit out you twice, then bitch, you like it. Shut the fuck up. Go suck his dick like you about to. Black Haru
Okay, well,
said
okay,
something
well,
in the
one.
chat. Hold on. Black Haru
My
said
bad,
something
bro.
in the chat. He said that these women are that woman did that dude went after, they probably fucked like rabbits that night, and I would put money on it. So
Yeah, I
the
bet too.
women like so let's be clear here. Black women of all races are not in a situation where they can't leave a situation they want to be in.
Right.
Even though white men is easier for them to catch and release when it comes to jail, but that's damn true when it comes to black men. Black women want to get away from a black man. There is a whole list of tools that they are given for free in order to do so,
Yeah.
no matter whether they're tied to a kid or all that. So if a black woman is with a man is hitting them, that bitch likes it. I don't give a fuck about what you say. I dare you put your, I'm not you, I'm talking about anybody gets mad about that. Put your story up. If she is over, I'll even give you 21 years old and that shit is happening, I don't give a shit. That's a choice. Now we could argue if that chick is insane, but that's a choice. As far as, but now, so they know what they want. This is why they like. I don't want to hear no people talk about I need a man to check me. That's why I used to do on this channel. Lowcast used to get mad about this. He used to really get mad about me. He said, "Yeah, man, you got to know how to crack that whip." I said, "What you mean break a bitch's nose? What do you bounce her head off the wall? What are you talking about? Crack that whip?
Yeah.
Because you
I
can't.
guess he
Because
mean.
because
I guess he mean get them
verbally crack."
them hot co hangers.
Verbally cracking that whip does not mean shit unless there is a credible threat that somebody might do
If you're
something. And
always
women have
verbally,
been
That's my point.
if you're
women
always
are in an
verbally,
environment women are in an I'm almost done. Women are in an environment where they know if you do something, the concept, think about why these women, think of Jacob Blake. That woman called the police on him, and then she went back and forth with the police department about understanding the situation because she regretted doing it. That's a kid with a gun. It's the same thing with Megan the
Hmm.
Stallion.
Hmm.
A lot of
Hmm.
they want to remix stories when it benefits them, but when they're in the situation, they choose to stay in it. Hell, even Holly Berry with her white dude, she want to talk about this dude fucks her sister. Nigga, you bitch, you were with him 5 years and you knew that year one. That's what she said. So what the fuck? You stay and you had a kid with him. So you knew all this shit. So stop it. Anyway, go ahead, Archer.
These
yeah, I
chicks
want
will.
I want to say
Oh my
something
bad.
right
Go ahead.
quick. And this is what you know, and I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna get straight to my point. I'm sick of black men with that discreditor, or I'm not advocating for violence. Please
I do
advocate
it
for me.
too.
I know, but I'm sick of it.
I'm just simply being
I won't.
respectful,
I
Archer.
don't. You don't
No,
need to
I
cut
That's
me
all.
off.
understand. He
You
doesn't.
don't
He
need to
doesn't
cut
know
me
what
off.
channel he's on,
It's
but
Ed's channel.
yeah, I do it too. So I'm not like I do it with certain things, and yeah, we need to stop doing that shit. They're gonna call you misogynist
Because the
anyway.
more you do that, the more the women know you're not gonna go, and the women know we're not gonna go. Now, I'm not saying other women don't do it, and that is a discredit right there. But as men, we know percentages. How often do you see other groups of women, especially Arab or Asian women, in their man's face threatening for him to fight her? The only reason you see that so often with black men is because they know we won't do it. And they know even when the conversation comes up, it's a whole bunch of discreditors and disclaimers before we even start jumping to the conversation about checking a woman physically.
You know what that
Yeah,
sounds like, Archer?
yeah.
It sounds like the literal definition of a shit test. Like black men have culturally failed it.
And it's a voluntary shit test too.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
what we got to start looking. No, I get it because the thing is, it's all that crying. Because it's all that crying. And I got you, Hammer. Give me a second. I'll switch somebody out. It's all that crying and hoop lying about, like think about it. The man you're taught from birth, and Archer's heard me say this. You're taught from birth that everything wrong with the black woman is the black man's fault.
Black male guilt.
Right,
And you
right.
and that's how you get that drip of guilt over the time of your life to where you hear dudes, a lot of dudes not parrot what you're saying, but they'll here's the thing. Yes, I check black men when it comes to context. I do it all the time, but it's where dudes think, oh well, this shit is swinging too much on the female side. Let me, be the devil's advocate. You don't see that on the channels where the women are talking shit. They shame. They take Jessica X a perfect example. When she went on MT1, let her do that shit. When she was doing that shit because that was her opinion. Then the women start, cam up, do this, do that. When half these bitches don't cam up, and half these bitches are doing us a favor by not camming up. I mean, for fucking for real. And so
Facts.
and then the dudes that are listening, for all you weak ass niggas that listen to Cynthia G, will be over there, and it never enters their mind to say shit. Like for example, when Jason Black is basically tearing the nuts off of a dude verbally, guess what? You don't see these same chicks never say shit about, oh, you being too hard on the females, on the males. But then when he starts checking women, all of a sudden these women call in. But see, the funny thing is, there's a lot of dudes that call in too, where they want to, because this is their idea of protection. Because women view protection of black men like protecting like a dog, like a German.
For
They
their
they want a
mama.
dog
Hmm.
on a leash that they
Hmm.
can react, they can release at any point, but you're never supposed to bite the master, because when you bite the
Hmm.
master, then you're gonna
Mhm.
get killed. Like this is and see, that's how they view you. And when you really understand that, I mean, at the end of the day, why would you build for that? That's the thing that
Right.
people don't really want to understand. Like with Cynthia G never asked herself, because if you're a woman, if you're somebody that believes in the divine feminine in that bullshit, but we'll play that game. You believe in the people that believe in the divine feminine believe that the woman is a creator of all things through her womb. So that goes both ways. Meaning, if you're in Blackistan, bitch, your womb created that too. You don't get to claim all the good and don't accept the bad. And see, this is why this is where that accountability piece comes in. If, like, remember what BGS said? BGS said a fucked up room can fuck up 3 generations. So if you see a generation of single mothers, like multiple generations of single mother, your fucking womb created that. This is why I ask women, do you choose the father for your children? Now, technically, a woman that believes in a divine feminine, even if they believe some crazy shit like they could choose multiple men and polandry, whatever that bullshit is, they should technically agree that a woman chooses the father for their children,
Right.
because your body, your choice, right? But what do you hear
Right.
black women say when I ask that? They either pause because they know what they want to say, versus they know it's the best trap. It's a trap that they can't. They know it's a trap, but they don't know how to navigate the trap. Or when they do say it, they'll say, now black women will, ADOS black women will outright say, you don't choose the father for your children. And I'll say, explain, and they can't explain it. Like, how is it your body and your choice? You have the ability to get abortion, but you don't choose the father for your child. Like, that's more true in America. How is it that I can talk to an African woman or a woman in the Middle East, and I've done this, and I've asked this question, and it takes them maybe 3 seconds to answer it, and they always answer it the same way, no matter what race or what culture. Only ADOS black women or black women. By the way, if you want to tell that a non-ADOS black woman is feminist as fuck, ask her this question. She doesn't answer it right. She is an open rebellion against her culture. Open rebellion.
Right.
And it's a trap, and they, because if they don't answer it, they're answering it. Like, how can you believe that? How can you believe that you produce all this shit, but then not take any accountability? But oh, well, the men are weak, the men are infectious. Well, you believe as a woman that you created these men, so therefore that says everything about your pussy not being shit, doesn't it? But see, they can't accept that. They always have to play to be these victims of circumstance. I'm just a victim of circumstance. This is how they justify, having this treacherous mindset. So anyway.
On the plantation, you didn't need to have accountability because that was taken for you. And at the end of the day, if you recognize that the family unit is the mother and the child, just like you just finished mentioning a second ago, which was profound. One mother can influence the culture of 3 generations. That is profound.
And you fucking see it, because remember, we're 2 generations out of the crack era.
But
I was born in 86. You could be 20 years old now if you was born in 2000.
I gotta get ready to bounce. Just want to make that last point. But yeah, definitely, Ed, thanks for having me up. Salute to the panel and salute to the chat. We'll definitely chop this up. And yeah, just like Damien was talking about, get that book, Daughters of the Trade. It's on it's somewhere around here on YouTube for free as an audiobook. So
okay. I have Daughters of the Trade. I do actually have that. That's a good idea.
And another thing,
that's good. Thank you for that.
American Slave Coast.
And remember, we can always pay people. Like, that's another thing about the Manosphere too. You can always pay people to read some of these books and put them in audio format if it's just for certain people. People get mad for copyright, but obviously we got the files and got links. That's something that actually I might want to look into doing. I know we know niggas don't want to read, but they still need this information, and they can also fast forward through it. Y'all need to start reading, but at the same time, look, sometimes you put this in your car and get through it. Yeah, I understand. We're millennials, if not zillennials. So these niggas say we don't read, we want to. We like, why? Technology tell it to you, and you still get the information. I mean, it is value in reading. I'm not gonna act like. I mean, it is. I'm not gonna act like it doesn't. All right, peace.
Nameless. Stay up, brother. Peace.
Right, have y'all? So we're gonna. Any of y'all seen the election? Y'all all skip that bullshit.
Hey,
bits and pieces of it.
Yeah,
I didn't see none of it. I actually got to get the thing.
Based on what I've understood,
Roger, if you want to link, this one's for you. Obviously Black Huru is welcome too, but yeah, I can't have more than 6 people, man. We got the nigga version of the stream, y'all.
I'm gonna jump off, brother. I just wanted to say thank you for having me on and being able to bust it up with you. I just wanted to share that with y'all, man, because I love your channel. I love your content. I certainly love your talking points because you're very clear and concise. I'm gonna say good night to y'all. Peace, brother.
No, absolutely, and I do appreciate that, and I am humbled by that. But I'm gonna tell you right now, people like Nameless, because I get tired of talking about fucking gynocracy too. And my thing, a lot of my mentality is like, you know what? Even with this video, I was saying, should I really do a video on this, or I should just say fuck it? Because here's my thing. At the end of the day, if somebody asks me what's the solution, I'm gonna be like, okay, there's an individual solution and a macro solution. The macro solution is a social contract. Without a social contract, I don't give a fuck about being pro Black. You can't hope your way past a social contract. If we're not talking a social contract where we got to hold Black women and Black men accountable to, which really it starts with the women, because at the end of the day, Black men are getting married at bigger rates, and Black men still marry Black women. It's only really with the millennials and the zillennials where that's starting to not be the case. And so that's the first thing. So we don't get a social contract, we don't start talking social contract, then there's nothing really else to talk about, honestly. And then because really people don't even got to come back to gynocracy. All you got to say is there is no social contract amongst Black people. Anybody want to say, well, you can manhood your way through it. Okay, tell that to people that don't gotta pay child support. How many black men, they manhood is so strong that these chicks ain't charging for child support, or they got a completely submissive black woman. I'll wait. And then they all shut the fuck up. And I'm like, even people, well, you ain't got kids. But okay, so let's go to the child support court, because all them niggas supposedly got kids, even though paternity fraud. And let's see how they're doing. Let's remove all the 50% of black men and just talk about the black men that's got kids, and let's see how good the black community is doing. Oh, it's actually more impoverished. Oh, it's actually more fucked up. Oh, that's actually what a majority of females are running their fucking mouth about, because now they're tied to the same niggas they want to talk to. Oh, okay. So that's the first part. The second part is the
bad decisions,
individual.
brother.
And the second part is the individual solution, and this is the one that I promoted. It's choice. The greatest power a man has is his power to choose, and the reality is that a woman, because if a woman even Kevin brought this up, if a woman wants to be chosen, they can talk about every black man is ineffectual, every black man is lame. Okay, so we're only talking about the black men or the men you're sexually attracted to. Why would they choose you? You notice when Kevin says that, they ain't got a fucking answer to that. You're a single mom, you're this, you're that, you're way this much. A dude that worked his way to become this, why would he choose you? They all pause, whether they're black or not black. And then if they do say something, they'll talk about this intangible bullshit that you can get from any bitch. Oh, well, I give this, I could pay a bitch to give you. Well, what the fuck are you talking about? Oh, well, my counsel, your fucking counsel? Like, are you fucking are you fucking stupid? Like, your counsel, and even and the thing is, I can even make their case a lot stronger than they can, even based on that intangible bullshit. But the funny thing about that shit is they've never even considered why somebody would choose them. Ever.
Right.
It's never even and that is what's most significant. What's significant
it's an entitlement.
is it's not that they don't have an answer. It's that you can tell their brain has never even processed. It's like you're creating new neurons with it, and it's funny. But the greatest power is the power of choice, and this is not me promoting for black men to hop for black, but to do in there. I'm promoting for black men to ruthlessly do what's in their best interest, and do not let somebody shame you on this idea of being pro-black. I understand what being pro-black is. I understand group economics, but the reality of the situation, it takes two. It's not black men got to do all this. It's just like with Africans, with the fucking Pan-Africanist shit. That shit is not one way. I'm not going to be such a Pan-Africanist that I just compel a diaspora blacks to just, contribute just by how strong my character is and how much I'm giving. That's that forgive bullshit with white people. And them Africans look at you like a sucker just like we do. And black women look at you like a sucker when you do that same bullshit. Anyway.
Yo, I'm off, brothers. Roger, I want to say hi to you, brother, before I go. That's all. I just saw you come up. Peace to y'all.
Right,
y'all stay safe,
Absolutely.
brother.
Hey, Shadow, Force Window.
Yes, sir.
I checked out your video a few days ago, man. I really appreciate that. You let it, about it on my show. I checked it out, watched it a few days ago, so I've been meaning to say something to you, brother. But I do appreciate it.
Thank you so much, brother. Y'all stay up.
Absolutely.
Keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. And y'all check out that Minister Jab Dennis Sperling, light skin power, man. I'm just Dennis boy, Dennis with light. I hate to say, but Dennis boy, you know who used to represent light skinned dudes in the ministry for the longest time? Well, Anger Man too, but other than like Angel Ramirez, that shit used to make me so mad, man. Huh?
Super Sly? Is that who you're about to say?
No, hell no. Hell no. Hell no. No, I'm not a fan of Super Sly. No. No, I hope not. I'd rather no. Super Sly, look, I
don't know, because
Super Sly's a contrarian just to be a contrarian, but it is what it is. It is what it is. This is but like I said, I ain't even gonna get started on that, 'cause that just brings the petty shit back. Yes, Angel was Manosphere. Yes, he was. Angel was, I'm gonna start. See, I don't want to start beefs, but really, we should, just like how there's the Injustice League, there should be the anti-Manosphere, or because there are a whole bunch of channels that are like anti-Manosphere. They really are, and it's like,
have you heard of this new channel called Expose the Manosphere?
No.
Like, it's.
I would love to debate. I would love to debate people like that when they talk about, oh, Cam up, do this, do this. I'm like, okay, well, nigga, you first. Nigga, you first. If you're gonna expose the manosphere, what city? I'm not even talking about your address. What city you live in? What's your income? Put it all out there, because then no. And I'm not saying that to be mean, but what I'm saying is you're raising the bar as to what we see. You can make a much bigger argument to cam up if you're cammed up. You know, you can make a much bigger argument to have somebody disclose their information if you've already disclosed as far as your fucking income and stuff. If you can't do that, see, here's the thing about the manosphere that's gonna get you fucked up. If you do that, anybody look. This is how I kill any of these arguments. I can take somebody like Dennis Sperling and be like, this nigga got more money than you, more bitches than you. He done been through child support. He's a lawyer, got property in DR. He agrees with the same shit I'm talking about. Knock his ass down. Or Minister Jap probably gets more bitches than you. Knock his ass. He says nobody hits black women harder than Jap. You know, even Tommy doesn't hit black women harder than Jap. Now go get his ass. Go check him. Like there's dude. I don't even have to expose you. Go knock out because you got to come from everybody. If you can come, you got to knock out the best people, the people that are the most have their stuff out there in order to say that everything we saying is on some bullshit. And if you don't want to do that, then you don't have a case. You don't have a case. So a lot of that shit is just clout chasing. I don't even pay attention to channels like that because, you know, a lot of them are just clout chasing. I'm not saying you're wrong for mentioning it, but it's for the part of the market that likes the nigga shit. You know, so anyway.
Well, the good news is when you got channels like that, that means the black manosphere is working.
Yeah.
People are always gonna have a bad reaction to black men helping black people, because honestly, the manosphere is helping more than just black men. We're helping black women because they get to hear men talk.
Yeah, the white boys bite on our shit.
They do. Oh my god! I will tell it. Oh my god.
But you know, and shout out to Jason Black, but Jason Black want to say we follow them. No, they come over, they be shadow land, please. But whatever.
Shadow watching like a motherfucker.
Go ahead, Roger. My bad.
No, it's all good. But no, I was just saying that it's a lot of women that come over here, and this is how they hear. This is where they hear men talk from, because they've been around women their whole lives, and you know. Just like, you know, we think about the younger guys who've been around men and who've been around women, they've been kept away from anything that looks like a strong black man. Well, same thing happened to the girls. They never heard men talk. So this is where they come to hear what men.
That's true.
How men speak, because it ain't on television or anywhere. Where you gonna watch television and hear a black man who's any semblance to even close to the majority of black men? And you hear what he says and what he thinks.
I mean, if you need it in the physical, world, you got to take your ass to a cigar lounge. But see, that's women ain't gonna like that. That's where, like, a dude that never really heard black men talk like men. That's where you go. But yeah.
So the black manosphere is a blessing to all black people. And my thing is, we helping both sides of the fence, and that's why you have so many people coming over here hating.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing about it is, you know, here's the Machiavellian part. I wish name was still on, but the Machiavellian part of the white folk boys biting our shit. Number one, and this is what my black mentor showed me, and he was in Nation Islam at one point. You know, kind of like Angry Man, where like he brushed with it. And you know, he's cool with it, but you know, he left. But in corporate America, if you become indisposable to like the right white dudes, and when they start getting promoted, a lot of times they're gonna promote your ass, especially when they know a lot of why they got promoted, they took shit from you. And especially if you can create a situation. I saw my business mentor create a situation, because I worked under him. He created a situation where he virtually didn't have to do shit, because his boss was pretty much did a lot of the same things, just he didn't do shit. So the shit that he did was putting together presentations and shit was really for him. So as he got promoted, he actually moved him up, and then he got promoted. I got promoted. I was doing the real work, but I'm talking about like I was doing the real work for my site. But like as far as his position, as far as managing multiple sites, he was just basically doing the the real work that he was taking credit for. But see, he was getting paid for it. He was getting a position where he was getting good money, especially compared to what he was doing. So that's hard to create that situation. But if you can create the situation, it's a great situation. That's the same thing in real life too. You got a lot of yeah, that's the situation. Oh, that was going back to the manosphere. The Machiavellian part is, it is in our advantage. It's more in our. It doesn't matter if black men get the credit for this or not. It doesn't matter if you have certain black men and think we follow them. The truth is, white men are the when I say dominant group, they have the dominant number. So in order for things to go mainstream, or it's much faster for it to go mainstream if they accept it. And it doesn't matter that their white privilege is having less cachet. And this is why it doesn't matter why they're coming to it. It doesn't even matter if they're going to always try to flip stuff to be in their best interest. The reality is this red pill shit will become a lot harder to deal with and a lot harder to just knock down if it's representative of the majority of men. So even if they're and also we become an indisposable asset, because they got to keep pulling. If they're taking, I'm not saying everything they say they're taking from us, because there is some truth to Jason Black. There is a lot of truth to what Jason Black says, as far as a lot of them being former PUAs and stuff. I'd say 70% of the stuff Jason Black says is accurate. The problem is he tries to draw certain conclusions and he reaches a little bit too far. But that shit about them being former PUAs out of the late 2000s, all that's true. And them trying to use it as more of a market in order to sell shit, that's true. With Greg Adams, that's true. Greg Adams actually said that it is beta to cold approach a woman. He just did a video with that. And he literally did keep in mind, he has a mixed audience, but they're more white than not. Probably like 70% white. And then 30%. Coach Greg Adams.
Okay.
Which is one of the dudes over there. It's more for the Royal Sponsored 21 convention, but he's not like really with Donovan Sharp and like 7 all that. He said it is beta to cold approach, which I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? But whatever.
So
My point is,
Tinder all the time?
no, because he said the way his argument was that you're boosting a woman's ego. Yes, that may be a byproduct, but at the end of the day, cold approaching is not. It's not like, you're spending money on dates and shit. Because I've even said that dating is simping nowadays, but obviously there's a way to go about doing it where you're not. But if you're just throwing your money away to just dance, that's a little bit different. But anyway, my long story short is that we become an indisposable asset to them, whether it's just by under Machiavellian rules, because they got to keep on taking from us in order to promote it. So we kind of serve as like a chitlin circuit for them to mine. And at the end of the and this is not like shit we get paid on. This is about the war of ideas. And it's going to be better for them to project that shit out and then obviously we are on the same page as far as dudes, because they're taking it from us, right? Then it's just black men versus the world. And I'm not saying we should partner with them or anything like that. I'm not even saying we should be 100% okay with them just blatantly taking shit from us. But at the same time, that's a part of you understanding the whole scope of a situation versus people want to make war about saying, oh, you're biting off of us and doing this and doing that. It shouldn't even matter. People got to start looking at the big picture. So I just wanted to highlight that. So there's positives even amongst that. So anyway.
Well, my thing is, this ain't the first time that black men have led white men. We done led them in all kinds of stuff,
Yeah,
they get a lot of stuff off the ground. They get a lot of stuff going based off a black man coming here and show them how even if they got it 90% going, a black man gonna show them the last 10% to actually put some value to it. So this ain't the first time black men done led them. It ain't gonna be the last time black men done led them. But you do make a point. If we don't have to partner with them, but they do what we want done anyway, it's still helpful to black men. And we don't have to put the stress into it. We don't have to even put the finances into it the way they're going to do it. So yeah, bite what I'm saying, go take it, make it happen, and you did the work. I'm fine.
Now, obviously, they're gonna do what they do, which is they're gonna remix it for their end. But there's a lot, there's a lot of things. Even with that, there's a lot of caveats with that. But I just wanted to point that out because too many times, I mean, dudes folks will just see one side of something or one dimension to it and not see the other dimension to it. Like I said, I don't particularly like that they're just straight up biting off of stuff, but they've been doing that for years now. And the reality is they're making that stuff a lot more mainstream, and it's a lot harder to shame. It's a lot harder to throw a lot of this shit at white men than it is black men. Also, a lot of these swirlers can't stand that shit because it also has them looking at them with a side eye too. So it ultimately fucks up a lot of this shit. And this is where understanding like Amy Barrett, this chick that they're going to put in the Supreme Court, which right now it doesn't even matter if Trump wins or not, because if they put her in anyway, pretty much the damage is already done.
Yeah.
For like generations. And I'm not, look, man, I understand the white supremacy aspect of it too, but at the end of the day, what we need, a lot of this stuff needs to there's a dial back that just needs to happen. And it's gonna be amazing to see how people just lose their fucking minds.
But
it really is.
Edward, our problem as black men with white supremacy has little to do with the Supreme Court in these cases. We can counteract a lot of stuff that we're dealing with when it comes to white people and the American establishment before it even hits the Supreme Court. Most of the things we can do for ourselves, we can solve on a much lower level than the Supreme Court. So this is not.
Well,
really
I'm not saying with the Supreme Court. Well, here's the thing: with the Supreme Court, it's not, because it's gonna happen regardless how we feel about it.
It's more the black women's issue.
But what it does is it establishes, because there can be that can actually go both ways, but it establishes a lot of. Basically, here's the thing: when it comes to abortion, a woman's right to, because number one, let's be clear, I don't believe personally abortion is going to be just outright outlawed. I don't think that's what's going to happen. What's going to happen is if they overturn Roe v. Wade, that means it goes back to the states. And depending on what state you live, is going to very much depend on like your ability to get an abortion and shit like that. I think that's personally where it's going to go to. I think that's a lot because a lot of people aren't educated on that because they never had to consider it. Most people don't even know that the shit was passed in 1973. So they don't even know like how they think it's a lot older than what it really is. I mean, the shit is only 50 years old. It's not that old.
Yeah.
I mean, most of your parents were alive when you couldn't do that. So at the end of the day, but a lot of what it's going to do to their zeitgeist is going to be crazy. It's gonna be, because you're going to see white women lose their fucking minds too. That's what's kind of funny about it. But it's going to be interesting. That's all I got to say. But because at the end of the day, they've got her strategic. I mean, she even got like an adopted black kid. So it's like, it ain't really a lot you can say. They got all their like McConnell. Like, I dare you come at this bitch, like for real.
Yo, Edward. So I didn't even, when I saw you on earlier, I didn't even know what the topic was, and you mentioned that video Obsidian put up. So I just jumped off and watched it right quick, and I didn't know Cynthia G was still around. And it's funny enough, she's hanging out with C Boogie, but I didn't even know she was still around. But one thing about the video that caught my eye is she's still saying the same shit about black men statistically being, for one, conquered, and for two, making less money than other groups of men. And her definition of conquered in this society where we're all intermixed as far as incomes and job opportunities are concerned is the fact that she keeps stating that black men make less money than every other group of men, which is factually incorrect. We actually make more money than Hispanic men as individuals. The problem with black women is none of them know how to goddamn read a chart. They keep reading these household charts and thinking the household incomes for is the black male income. That's what they keep reading. They keep not understanding the difference between the two or three people in a household versus one black male. So they look at the black households and see us making barely 40,000.
They know how to read. They purposely put that shit out there. But you're right.
They purposely mislead. It's just misleading because our whole point falls apart. Yes, black men make more money than black women statistically. We make about $5,000.
Which is something else she said. Which is something else she said that we didn't. Which is, I'm like, why do you need an income gap thing if you make more?
Right. Black men make more money. But our households make less. And she keeps saying black men don't build anything, and that's why we have poverty in households. No, we have poverty and we're not building because you will not submit and you won't be led. We don't have as much disposable income as
Or
other
the
groups
niggas
to
you
build.
fucking, or the niggas you fucking won't build. That's another thing that doesn't get talked about. I mean,
I'm not fit even go there because I don't believe I don't even believe the big. Okay, this is one thing about I don't believe about black men. I'm sick of letting this shit fly. I don't believe black men are actually as bad as black women are saying they are. Because you ask any black, I know you gotta.
with art.
I know you got to give them their talking points to beat them with their own talking points, but when you give them their talking points too much, it allows them to have some levity. So they keep saying black men are leaving the household. I asked Sister George and Concrete Rose this question, and I didn't ask it about their baby daddy, but I was alluding to their baby daddy, but I asked them in a sneaky way. I said, have any of you guys ever been broke up? Has any a man ever broke up with either of you? They both said no. And I said, are both of you single mothers? They both said yes. And after they said yes,
oh
they caught
God,
the
they
trip.
actually fell into that shit.
They fell into that shit.
Nigga, how they that was that nigga? That was a.
You have to ask him in the right
Damn.
order. You have to ask him in the right order because first you ask him, has a man ever broken up with you? Their ego's like, hell no, I break up with all of them. Then you ask him about are they single mothers? That's how you trick their ass. Because
Wow, that's
you
you deserve the play of the day for that.
You asked Cynthia G that question too. I'm pretty sure she'll tell you she's broken up with every man because they were all dusty. But then you ask her if she's a single mother, she'll say, yeah. Well, there you go. Black men are not leaving the households. You look at the black divorce rate, it's 80% divorces initiated by women. That's marriage. You think that statistic's any different when it comes to just relationship dynamics between men and women? I know I've been broken up. Women broke up with me I wanted to be with. Every man's been broken up where the woman cuts it off. So we can't let this shit keep flying that they're somehow getting these terrible guys. I don't believe a majority of black men, even if 49% of black men have babies, I don't believe the majority of that 49% are breaking up with their baby mamas for one, and for two are not doing shit. I believe it's the woman pushing this narrative, and we gotta stop letting them push it. We gotta cut that shit off.
BGS did a video when he said this is why black women don't like nice guys. Because they can't blame that shit. They can't blame that shit on them. And so this is why videos like that have to be, we have to understand we have a library and we need, and a lot of these videos when they're 5 My videos are deemed to be, they need to be downloaded and archived. That way in case YouTube want to do some super shit, it is what it is.
But I see, but like we did earlier, I don't know if you're still in the pen, like boy did earlier where he did that disclaimer about domestic violence, how he's not advocating for it. Black men do that too much when it comes to even when it comes to the baby father, baby daddy argument. We give too much to the women. We let them have the belief that black men are out here been in a relationship for 5 years, and as soon as she gets pregnant, he just ups and bounce for no reason. That's not how men work. We gotta stop letting.
No, and I've heard, and even Rashida Schrober has outright said. I asked her a direct question. I said, "So are you saying that black men are getting cold feet when it comes to having children, and basically they'll be cool with the baby, and then they'll just leave you right before you have child?" And she'll say yes, and I'm like, I don't understand how you think you're helping black women by a lot. Because here's the thing. When they talk about enablers when it comes to drugs, they're basically saying when somebody wants to do an intervention, that the enabler is the person that's going to keep them doing drugs because they don't have the strength or fortitude on their own in order to let this person, get well, because it's for some reason they're emotionally
invested in
invested in helping them as they are. So you're actually a problem. And usually it's like the mother or something like that. And so you see that a lot, even with people that want to help, just not just black women or black men. Some of them it's for money, but some of them is because they just want to believe some shit. Even like at the end of the day, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Can we just accept that they're liars?
Yeah, they're liars.
That's all. See, my thing is, I don't give them that narrative. You know what I'm saying? Because I get what you're saying, Archer, and what you're saying is true. I actually promote that black men need to start breaking up with women. Women don't have a reason to change and get better from one relationship to the next because ain't nobody breaking up with them. Yeah. I ain't gonna say ain't nobody, but it's rare. I break up with women, but like I said before on my show, as I got older, I noticed that men don't really break up with women. So if I'm breaking up with women,
no, they get comfortable.
Yeah.
Well, this is my point though. If I break up with a woman, meaning she needs to now get better for her next relationship, If I'm the only guy doing it in my area, then none of those women in my area need to improve because the next guy gonna keep her until she break up. Even if you cheat on her, she's still not getting the message she needs to be a better woman.
Yeah, because that's what most black men do. Most black men, yeah, you're right. When you cheat on her and don't break, that's actually a really good point. You should do that for a video because when you cheat on her and you don't break up with her, what you're doing is you're actually giving her an out.
Yeah, giving her a way to make it your fault.
Yeah, you're giving her a way to say, "Oh, you were just a bad man," and
even though she stayed there for years after you cheated. In fact, just when she was fed up with other stuff, had nothing to do with cheating.
So it wasn't nothing, and that's actually a really good thought. I think you should explore because when you just dump her, yeah, you absolutely right. Because most black men, yeah, they don't do that. What they do is they just cheat.
But the narrative is black
you
men
get
leave
fat,
as soon
they
as
cheat.
the baby comes. Okay, I'm guilty of that.
Rashida Schroeder just wants to justify that because she wants to talk about black women want to get married, and I'm like, well, if y'all want to get married, then here's the thing: there are plenty, even Rashida got with a Caribbean dude. There are plenty diaspora blacks that a black woman can get married to, and most of these diaspora blacks actually buy into the fact that black men are the problem.
Everybody buys into it because the narrative sells it to everybody. But I want to point out one more thing about Cynthia G, and I'm gonna jump off. But Cynthia G, that the whole thing I said about black women not being the ones who actually break up with their baby daddies it goes into Cynthia G saying black men are not building and the least productive men. You see, black men on average can make $40,000 to $50,000 as individuals, but that spending power as an individual is not as strong as the Hispanics' 60,000 or 70,000 as a family household, or the white people's 80,000 or the Asians 90. You got to understand, individual incomes does not build much. Family has more room to invest. Has more money
and this is
to
the
build
argument
with. So you can't expect
and that's
black
the argument
men to
people
build
have of
first,
getting married.
You can't expect black men to build a whole community first. And then when you break up with them, you put them on child support. You have this get the bag, get that head, get the bag culture where you're always trying to steal from a man or get what you can from your own men and then expect them to build for you. And one more thing.
And I've actually, go ahead.
One more thing is most of these black women complain about black men not having anything when she meets him. Well, the reason he doesn't have anything when he meets you, when you meet him, is because all the black women that came before you leached the fuck out of him.
So, and I've actually heard Chrissy make the argument that she actually expects black men to build it so she can come running. I've actually heard her actually directly make that argument.
No other woman expects that. You can't do that. It's like being on a basketball.
No, it's childish.
Hold on, go ahead. Before y'all move too far away from this point, black women know exactly what's going on because anytime they say something about wages and income, they always talk about black women in comparison to a white man. They'll even if they put up charts, the black man is always missing off the chart. So they know exactly what they're doing. It's the reason there's always an omission of where black men fall in line when we talk about different groups of people that earn money. They know we make more than them. They just not gonna say we.
But the problem is not the people that's putting up the charts. Not whether they know or not. It's not whether the older black women know. They're teaching children that don't know yet, and they're pushing narrative to them. So we can't really say, oh well, they know and just leave it at that. No, we got to cut that off because a lot of children that's coming up that don't know.
I hear what you're saying.
Don't cut it off. I'm not saying don't let it be known, but I'm saying they're just outright lying. Period. And they even got younger women lying.
Yeah, and these
younger women got to charge the same thing is missing.
And this is why this is one of the reasons I decided to do a YouTube channel, because at the end of the day, I listened to Jason Black for the longest time, and I respect Jason Black. I listen to Tariq, I listen to Professor Black Truth, but at the same time, they don't really allow these narratives. They walk that line better than a lot of people do. But the truth is, this is what I call a don't pass go type of thing. When you got folk that are it's the same thing with black men in the money doesn't matter delusion. It's the same thing with dudes want to project manhood over money. The same people that Cynthia G is talking shit about are the same niggas that'll say some shit like that. That's why she's very comfortable with those types of dudes, because she sees those as a sexual asset versus somebody that actually builds. And my point is the third thing I didn't talk about as far as what my channel is about. So the first thing was the gynocracy. The second thing was the social contract. And the third thing is folks have to understand that as long as you're invested in things as they are in any kind of way, nothing's never going to change. So it's kind of like I've gone far enough down to take David Carroll's reference, the rabbit hole, to realize you motherfuckers like shit as it is. I remember there was a woman by the name of Aisha Tyler. She's the chick that talked about like the penis power, vagina power. This is something I heard in 2008. This is when she was really getting hotep as fuck. This is the first time I ever heard the concept of an imprint. Aisha, I think it's Aisha Tyler. You type it in, penis power, her shit'll pop up, some old school shit. Different version of the Matrix that is YouTube. But she was when she was on her real hotep Erykah Badu, like super feminist, divine feminine bullshit. She said there was one video that she said she was talking about the hotep community, like this divine ultra hotep community, and how a lot of them dudes that come and speak, they will have a room to stay in, a warm food, and a warm vagina. And what she was talking about is how it was a video called like Jezebels, and she was really saying that you got a lot of women that, like, even in the church, but she wasn't talking about the church. They liked like the Umars and the dudes that could come through, and then these chicks can just fuck them. The whorishness manifests in everything. It's like the whorishness manifests in the church. The whorishness, that culture manifests in other areas of activity. You see in corporate America with black women passing around black men. It manifests in a lot of different areas, but what she was talking about is a lot of women like it that way. And she was just talking amongst the women first. She was talking about for female empowerment. So she wasn't really talking shit about the dudes, but the dudes were not allowed in this conversation.
Yo, who's this Golden Jones chick in the chat?
I don't know. I don't pay attention. But my thing is, she was talking about how a lot of what fucks women up is this whorish Jezebel shit. That fucks women up as a collective group because they're not on the same page necessarily, even though it seems like they are. So I say that to point out to exactly what you all were talking about. You have black people, another part of this channel, and I'm about to end it in a little bit. Black people are invested, and you have to look at how are you invested in the very thing you're talking about you're supposed to be against. Like for a black man, if you are make money off of black women, then and so obviously your pocket is gonna tell you to not say anything that fucks up your money. So you have to understand you need to recuse yourself from that bullshit. Not necessarily, but I mean that's one thing to keep in mind. And the problem is we got a lot of black people that think they could just hotep their way and manhood their way past shit when they're invested in the same delusions that actually drives the system. That's the problem. And once you realize that, this is why a lot of dudes, they get into it's just about me. It's just about me as an individual, because I'm not going to sacrifice my life for motherfuckers that ultimately, at the end of the day, are not really upset about it. This is why I keep coming back to this phrase that came from Avengers Age of Ultron. People want the world to improve, but they don't want it to change. What that means is they want to be comfortable in their own bullshit, but they don't really want to do the changes necessary in order to become different people to create better outcomes. And you see that even in individual self-improvement. You can tell motherfuckers straight up, if you just work out, more likely you'll be more palatable to women. Nobody's debating if that's true or not, but you have some dudes that just don't want to do it. Why? Because at the end of the day, they want shit to improve as far as their outcomes, but they ultimately don't necessarily want to do the changes necessary that would lead them to working out and doing shit. So you can frame it. Same thing with women and losing weight. It should be obvious that a bitch that loses weight is going to be and here's the thing. The same chicks that talk about how ineffectual black men are the same chicks that don't want to lose weight. Now, here's the thing. Well, black men like me bigger. Well, bitch, black men are ineffectual. So what the fuck does black men matter? You shouldn't even be aiming for black men if that's the case. So at the end of the day, even if you take the men out of it, Cynthia G said, I am invested in shit being fucked up because at the end of the day, I don't want to submit to a man. And that's reflective in who she chooses. But at the same time, she bitches about it. This is why chicks like that are insane, and people that listen to her are actually functionally insane. There is a dysfunction there. There really is. Anyway, I see people hopping off. We're gonna do last words. Yeah. Or what you got to say about what I said? We want to step up to the plate. Hello.
Hello? Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, okay. I thought someone else was saying something. That's why I didn't say anything. But yeah, it's this whole thing that it's like they don't want their reality to change in their mind, but they want the reality of the outside to change.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times, we get so wrapped up in our minds that we get used to so much lying and telling ourselves what is, where in reality on the outside of what the world was going on, that we keep that it's two different things that are happening, but we keep lying to ourselves to make ourselves feel good about how we process information and how we go on through life, that the outside world to us becomes unfair or it becomes bad for us, but when in reality, because we keep lying to ourselves
Yeah.
and the things
It
that
becomes a feedback loop.
right. And so that's why you have all this backwards psychological things that are going on, especially within the black community, that a lot of times you have men and women both think, but what they think and feel on the inside isn't what they show on the outside. Even though what they say on the outside isn't what they're showing in their thought process. Because if you want, excuse me, if you want to have these strong men that you speak of, well, then you would have to take the necessary steps to train young boys into strong men that you want to be with.
Yeah, meaning you're gonna have to give up the boys, which is something that black women don't want to do. Because remember, what women don't really like to admit is these boys are a reflection of their care because they're the ones that raised them.
And
That's the part of conversation that never gets entered. Go ahead.
their decisions and their life's decisions too, as well as their partner
Yep.
decision
That's
too
where
as
that
well.
I'm doing the best I can bullshit comes in.
And the fact that it's done, and don't let that little boy look like their father, which brings on a whole nother psychological
Yeah, which is
and
something else that doesn't get talked about a lot. That resentment, because that shit is
right.
there, and the thing about it is, again, that's the result of their choice. See, a lot of that too is based on their inability to dominate that man or get that man to do exactly what he wants. And a lot of these dudes, I mean, all men cheat, but a lot of these dudes in the black community, they lash out by cheating. Because that's really, like, to me, that's the best
Can,
way to check a female is to basically show her you can replace her. And so go ahead.
what's your definition of cheating?
Well, sleeping with another woman if you're in a committed relationship, I guess. I
Because you
mean,
said
or
all
and it's supposed it could, but it can be relative, to be honest with you.
do you believe in emotional cheating?
I mean, I don't believe men don't emotionally cheat. Cheating is defined by men as rarely emotional. But I do believe women can emotionally cheat, but not really, not in today's world. Because in today's, so no, actually, I'll say overall no.
Okay. Well, see, I bring that up because a lot of times we as men always get put the onus of cheating. Well, a lot of times you have a lot of women out here who got to have a Rolodex of men, like as if they are a dating CEO and they have all these men up under them.
Most
There
black
are
men, honestly, I hear what you're saying. I'm not trying to cut you off, but most black men
yeah,
don't
you can
care if you're not fucking a bitch. They don't care, because the thing about it is, Like let's describe that exact same thing. You'll have a dude that if he's getting the pussy, and then all the other dudes are having to deal with the fucking, what did Donovan Sharp call it, the damn emotional douche. Then as far as that man's concerned, that's a winning situation, because most dudes don't even want to engage. Somebody's doing the labor and of the benefits that man gets to enjoy, which is basically the sex. So that, and at least in Black America, we don't even look at it like that. Now, as long as if nobody's fucking, then that dude is a simp. So it's not looked at as that's a losing situation. Now, a lot of women might say that as far as, maybe being the side piece and stuff, but the reality is that, again, if sex is not involved, you tend to not see them make that case, unless it's got to be a sexual act in order for that shit to really rise to the level which at least is what cheating is talked about now. But yeah, you can finish your point.
Well, it's okay. Well, see, yeah, because my whole thing, I was speaking with someone one time, and I was telling them that I don't cheat, but I do have more than one. So you're more than welcome to join this team if you care to, but that's on you. If you
Well, I
don't want
mean,
to
that's
join
your
that,
standards. I mean, the reality is, man, I mean, if people, my thing is always deception. Is if you're honest about how you get down and you set that up and people choose that, even if you hit a woman, if a woman gets with a dude that she knows hits women, I mean, I don't know why you can bitch about him knocking your ass out. I
because
mean,
she thought
because
she
as
could
a young
change them.
adult, well, that's your delusion, and I'm not saying obviously the law is gonna have a say so about that, and it should. But from a common sense standpoint, from a Darwinistic standpoint, I mean, you might like to get hit, and you need to go get therapy about that. Anyway, give me 1 second, man, because I got this chick.
Hmm.
Who's this chick? Who's this chick talking? I mean, I'm glad you all have been listening. You all did not block her or time her out, because this gives me an opportunity. Don't we got, first of all, your name. Look, man, I don't know if this is who you are, but why are you coming to my channel with blonde hair and as an avatar, and you don't think? I mean, I'm not even trying to roast you. I'm like, you don't think there's something wrong with that? Like that right there says a lot. Um, um, Especially,
Well,
like, I'm gonna tell you something. If you're a brown skinned Black woman, that shit looks goofy as fuck. It looks goofy as fuck if you're dark shit, whatever. But that's that Atlanta shit. Anyway, let's see what she's got to say. Since she wants to step up, because I always like
is
to take a time,
she's up.
but in this, well, not that no shit. No, I'm talking about oh, she won't come on. Shit.
Oh, she's not gonna come
Because
up and speak.
it'll instantly turn into making it about us. They can't make it about points. It's got to be motherfuckers proof. This is why I often say, look, man, if you got something to say about us, go check out Minister Jab. Go check out Dennis Sperling, who says the same shit. Dennis Sperling makes $1 million, has property everywhere, and Jab, it clearly shows he gets bitches, and he comes from a more conservative thing. So, go say something to him. Anyway, let's see.
Let's see now. If she comes up, I'm more than welcome to sit back and listen and hear her speak her opinions.
No, I'm not. She can do that right in the chat, because I mean, I've been on here. Maybe if it was earlier, I might be more agreeable to doing that. But
But
okay.
I,
So, oh God, go on 1 second. I gotta reload this
uh-huh.
fucking service. Come on. We'll end this with this. See what she got to say.
Well,
I
she
mean,
says
people
she
kill.
speak.
I'm not doing that. For what? I mean, really, for
You
what?
got
For her to
because
make
she
it
was.
about us? For say this,
Yeah,
say
you gotta
this. I
give.
mean,
Look, Edward, you gotta
I
give
don't
her
gotta give.
her
Hey,
15
that
minutes.
this is not a democracy. I don't gotta say shit. I'm reading. I'm reading the chat.
She's a
And that's more
queen,
than
man.
enough.
She's a
Let me
queen.
see. Archer, most Black. Okay, see, I can't go far enough as what I want to. Damn. But anyway, she says, Archer, most Black men don't make enough to make women comfortable. Okay, let's talk about that real quick.
Sure.
So it's been proven by people calling in, as far calling in the Kevin show and stuff like that. Most people don't make money. My problem is that I would say, okay, let me give you, I know Archer just railed against this, but I'm going to do this. Let me give, for the sake of argument, let's give you that the most black. First of all, most American men don't make enough because 50,000 is the median. So you're either above that 50,000 or below that 50,000. So I can actually make an argument that most American men don't make enough. And 70% of women work that are married, meaning white bitches too. So it's not so much about who makes enough. It's about the reality of what you see at that. Because what you're asking for is really outside of the median of even what white women have to expect. So that tells me everything about what that is. But see, women don't think about shit like that. The other thing too is making women comfortable. That is very subjective and very relative. I mean, that's very subjective and very relative. The third
Well, you know
thing
what?
is, a third thing is, which is the main point, is black women would rather have a, see, my thing is black women can't make these arguments, but then you have babies by dusty niggas. You can't make these arguments because by the fact you have it doesn't matter what you say, it matters what you do. And if you've chosen a dude to have a child with that is not AKA making you comfortable, you've already demonstrated that that's not really important. It's not. What's important is your pussy getting wet, not you being comfortable. Because if I were to ask a black woman, if you could only choose to struggle and get fucked decently, not even well, but decently, or you could choose to be comfortable but bored, which one would you rather do? 90% of black women to choose to struggle.
That's because it
What else?
feeds
Go
to their
ahead. Go ahead.
emotion. I'm sorry. That's because it feeds into um, their emotional aspect of their mind. Because when they struggle, you're at a downward period, and so it's like that old cliche saying, "When you're down, the only place to go is up." So
Yeah, and she
when
said,
they
I don't know
apply
how
that,
much it takes. Yeah, I don't know how much it takes to marry, but it takes something. Okay, so why would you make a statement like that? But you know, you have, and this goes back to women not thinking. This goes back to you not even thinking about the shit you say. This goes back to the reflexes. And going back to the avatar, even if that's not you, which I don't think it is, that says a lot about you because that's something you chose. That's something you chose to represent you. Is technically that's me. It's just a cartoon like filter through it. But that's what you chose to represent you, which says a lot about you. That's what see, and I'm not saying this to beat anybody up. I'm just saying this to point shit out. Flip, why do you keep calling me bitches? Well, Flip, because really Flip wants to block you, but I've been told I've told them not to block you, so I guess the compromise is to call you a bitch, and that's allowed. uh Goldie says 40K is good for me. 40K is good for you. Like about 35% of black men make 40K, so
I thought that
40K
was the
40K
median
is
for black
nothing.
men.
40K is nothing. I mean, really.
apparently,
I mean, why
apparently,
40, like what are you gonna do with 40? Like that's just a wow. This is why I like to ask open-ended questions as far as what they think. Like I said, so how many bodies does it take for a woman to be a hoe? And then women usually say like between 8 and 12. Well, I know Roger wants to get back up. I'm about to end it, Roger. I'm sorry. I'm just now seeing this. Um,
well,
like Goldie, I will. Oh, she said, "Oh, this is why I'm getting to the point where she said she was." No, man. I
yeah,
mean, I see in the chat. I see in the chat. I mean, I see what you putting already. I mean, it's nothing you're bringing. Like the thing, and I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna let y'all get y'all last words, and I'm hopping off. Look, when I used to go over to Christie's stuff and in Paris stuff, this was years ago. I would actually put out long comments. I would make sure I put resources. I would really make a case. I would not sit there. Which basically shows I actually absorbed what you were saying, not some I'm just gonna make an emotional comment. Not saying that's what she's doing, but it's like $40,000. Like, and so then I gotta define, what do you define as comfortable? $40,000 ain't all that in North Carolina. Like what?
no,
Like
it's
you
not.
can, you can what 40 and it's like what? But you're talking about most black men. Do you understand how easy it is to get a black man that makes $40,000? My question, if you saying that, is like, what your pussy worth then? Like real talk, because
40,000.
she, like seriously, like what the fuck you and then think about it this way: what do you expect a man to do for you with $40,000? Like, and I'm not trying. This is not about me beating people up, but I just want to ask people like, a lot of folks don't put a lot of times when women come in these conversations, they do not put the thought into it. Like black men are not even worthy to put the goddamn thought into what the fuck we're saying. They just go on these emotions. And here's the irony. The irony is when you look at a woman like Lisa Ray or Vivica Fox, they are who they are because they are where they are because of who they are in the sum of all the decisions that they've made. And even at their age, they can do nothing but basically blame somebody else. It's always somebody else's fault. Even Garcelle Beauvoir, it doesn't matter if they fuck Zaddy. It doesn't matter. It's always somebody else's fault. And they don't understand that even though people aren't laughing in your face, like everybody sees that. Even with Tommy Lauren, even take Black off of it. Even with Tommy Lauren, she was doing the same shit. And people would say, oh, well, she's an attractive girl. Well, in the NBA, if you're dealing with the best of the best, she's a dime a dozen. She's a dime a dozen. What makes Tommy Lauren stand out is if you a type of dude like you a Jay Cutler type or somebody like that, and you just need a chick you trying to settle down with that kind of meets the role, at least from the look standpoint, yes. But Tommy Lauren's not somebody you gonna basically like, jump through hoops and run revolutions for. If she's gonna create problems, there's other females you can get that are younger. And even with her, she wanted to come up with this value bullshit. Me and my friends, and all your friends are having this problem. And the thing about it, a lot of people don't understand. She's fucking with dudes like the dudes that the apex predators for her are like Donald Trump Jr., like those types, those Jared Kushner types. Those type of white boys give zero fucks about what these bitches are talking about. They will import these bitches from Eastern Europe if they have to. They give zero fucks about what these women think. And that's why a lot of them get angry like they do, because when you put a woman in a position where she can't leverage anything and you see what she is, a lot of times they don't fucking measure up, and then they just falter. But anyway, let me see. Is there anything else she didn't said? It is what it. I said my husband made less than 40K when I married him. I'm not trolling. I'm trying to join in and participate, but y'all want to call me bitches. All right. Well, first of all, only Flip has called you a bitch. I haven't called you a bitch. No, I haven't called you a bitch. So only one person's called you a bitch that I've seen in this chat. And so don't say y'all see one black man does, every black man does, apparently. The second thing and you're saying, and
That's
I mean,
because they think collectively.
and I'll give her, and I mean, I'll give you credit. I mean, I'll give you credit for marrying where you are, marrying where I give you credit for working with a dude.
Yep.
And I don't know if you still married. Well, yeah, but you know what? At the end of the day, this is freedom of speech. You're a grown woman. You can handle it. Okay. I've had people come on this damn platform and call me Auntie Edward and bullshit. So you can handle it. You'll be all right. Flip has been a
Wow.
long, I've already, trust me, if it was up to Flip, you'd be timed out. You wouldn't even talk. I've had to tell them to not do that. And then I appreciate y'all for not doing that. I'm not going to then, keep on moving the needle telling him to regulate. My question is what you say. But okay, great. Good job. Honestly. Okay, so I would suggest you go listen to Kevin Samuels. You might be able to give you give some good insight. Or go listen to Jason Black from The Business. Trust me, you're not going to be called a bitch over there because Kevin doesn't allow that. That's 5,000 subscriber viewers, all women. Most of them are women. The same thing with Jason Black, and dudes get taken to the task on Jason Black shit. So that's a good recommendation. Also, with the working together piece, my rule is 80-20. 80% of black women have dysfunction to varying degrees. 20% all right. The reality is, that's for your outcome. The shit that we say isn't do this for us. Ultimately it's about your shit, and ultimately that's on you. Just like what black men do is on them. So you must be living in Alabama, Mississippi at 40,000 to work for you, because even North Carolina, that shit ain't a lot. Oh, she didn't. Whoa, whoa. Oh, Cortez, don't say that. She said she didn't. She didn't marry a black man. So you mean to tell me that you basically married a non-black man that makes less than $40,000? I'm gonna leave that there. Anyway,
Well,
let y'all get y'all
White
final
Zaddy,
thoughts, and then I'm done. Yeah, you can talk. My bad.
I speak. Okay, ain't no if anyone else wants, but wow. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, it's either you're going to hold both sides accountable for what you do and say, or you're just not going to. Just continue this rapid, crazy cycle. I mean, it's really that's all there is to it. And thank you for letting
Yeah,
me
and
up
my
here.
and my
I
thing,
appreciate it.
absolutely. And my thing is, if you're gonna hop the fence, god damn, I mean, at least do better hopping the fence. Like, and I'm just
Level
saying
up,
in general.
real.
Yeah, I mean, for real, because
I don't even like using that term, by the way, but I mean, for the sake of tonight, I just said it. But
and I'm not even trying. Like I said, man, the problem, Goldie, is you can't. If you would have came in earlier, then I would have probably been more agreeable to you coming up, because I actually don't have an issue with women coming up, but I've been doing this for 2 hours. Normally, if you would have came up, I would have said, "Don't look at the chat," and then we would have had Roger and all them up here, and we would have had a great conversation. But the thing
oh yeah,
about it is, it's late, and like, it's late. Shit, it's late. You came in late. That's all it was. I mean, I hope you don't take it offense. I'm not trying to call you no bitch. I mean, people gonna say what they're gonna say in the chat. I mean, it's the chat. Chat has always been a more of a free fire zone than in the regular thing. As far as me letting them do it, I mean, those are grown ass men, and
mm-hmm.
it ain't like they saying you should die or some shit like that. Cause I wouldn't let them say no crazy shit like that.
Yeah.
But
Hey,
yeah, go
I got,
ahead.
I got a question to ask you. Isn't it interesting or ironic that when a black woman marries someone out of the race, it's because black men didn't want her, but when a black man marries out of his race, it's because he doesn't love himself or he doesn't love his mother.
Well, that's called sexual politicking. I mean, once you and which is another, for people to always say I take shit from other people. No, I come up with a lot of classic shit on my own, and for people that sexual politicking explains a lot of the rhetoric on social media. It really
It also
does. I mean,
explains.
mhm.
I'm sorry. It also explains their mindset as well and how they view not just you but also themselves.
Yeah, it does. And when you understand, because a lot of people they'll want to, and I'm not even talking about what she's talking about, but I'm saying, and I'm not saying men don't do it, but it's mostly women that do it. Everything they say is always going to serve, their best interest from a sexual standpoint. And so if you understand, like, most men are really, they're trying to give to get, or they're
Mm.
not. But women, it's like very zero sum. It's either I get everything or I don't want to get nothing. And even with that video with Cynthia G,
Do you
it's
think that's
all
because it's
sexual
the?
politicking.
I'm sorry. Do you think that's
No, go ahead.
because of the? Do you think that's because of the culture, or do you think that's because that's who they are? It's their nature.
No, I mean, all of it is culture. But no, it's part of it is female nature, but the environment, the cultural environment has basically promoted it. It's basically
Mhm.
promoted it to the point where you're seeing it in a very like bad way. And it is what it is, because at the end of the day, two people can play that game. That's not a one-way street. And what you're seeing now is you're seeing a lot of women complain about dudes basically, being very like it's all on me type shit, and like an individualist. And then they talk about all this: you didn't build, you didn't do this. All that shit is shaming language. At the end of the day, if you're not trying to fuck Cynthia D, that shit doesn't matter. If she doesn't have any significance, like that ain't your mother, none of that shit matters. None of that shit matters. Because at the end of the day, you almost appropriated with a black man, despite, oh, well, he's an ineffectual dude. So you basically, it doesn't matter. It only matters, like, pretty much it becomes like white noise. And now you're starting to, the reason why a lot of these women are coming back to the table is because they're realizing, number one, all that going to zaddy shit, even if they could go to non-black men, they're gonna have to submit to those men. They're gonna have to submit to those men, even if those men don't require their women to submit hardcore. They're gonna require them because they're gonna be like, there's gonna be a benefit that you have to give this more than what my woman is willing to give me. And even if they're not particularly wanted by their own women, a lot of these folks are on that. And so that's making black women have to do more than what they already want to do, which you will get some exceptions to that rule, especially for white men. But then again, on the flip side, the very thing you're complaining about is the very thing you pretty much low key volunteered into, what, for some white skin or whatever. I mean, hey, it is what it is. But no shit. But at the end of the day, it's a Chinese finger trap. And so I always look at this from the perspective of their outcomes. Because here's the thing: if black women had the outcomes they wanted, the manosphere wouldn't really have a purview to even really exist like that. Because then it'll just be us bitching about people that are otherwise happy doing what they're doing. But the fact is, the manosphere is built on the response of black women constantly saying it's our fault what they do, and what they do is not our fault. It's not. They have choices, they make them, they fuck up, that's on them. But it always has to be somebody else. And see, and here's the thing you have to understand too. Women are, I know people say, well, women are women. Women are adults. And so at the end of the day, a woman is supposed to be more mature than a boy. Okay? Like seriously. A 13-year-old boy is supposed to be less mature than like a 25-year-old woman or a 20-year-old woman. So this idea that women are just emotional, that's who they are. Women are adults first as well. And at the end of the day, adults have to take accountability to what they do. It doesn't matter. Fuck me. I'm just talking about just in life, because life is gonna deal with you no matter what. And life does not give a fuck. It doesn't. So it is what it is. But with that being said, I don't know if NBA fan is in here.
Oh yeah, I was wondering if when you wanted to get the final statements.
Okay, yeah, if you can give your final statement. My bad, man. I know you've been here like quiet and shit. Before you give your final statement, who you think will win the championship?
Lakers.
The Lakers and what?
Lakers in 6. But yeah, just to the whole conversation and to the lady in the chat, I think it's kind of good that she had realistic expectations for marriage in terms of like the 40K range and how that stacks up along like the average man in America. And I also think it's kind of positive in the sense that women should try to catch men before they're at the peak of their value. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I'm saying? They're not competing with everybody, and then they have to deal with all these, people who are better candidates. So that's something that black women should take in consideration. And then another thing, like this whole conversation is just like talking about the gynocracy and black women who feel that like black men are like inadequate. But I mean, I don't know if it's like an older like black person thing and they still have like allegiance to like black women or something. But I mean, if they don't, just go where you're wanted type of thing. Like there's other women besides black women. You know what I'm saying? So that's all I say.
Absolutely. And really sometimes motherfuckers need to chill out. But it was only one person I really flipped. Yeah, I saw you saying it. It'd be one thing if like everybody was like, you bitch, you fucking bitch. It'll be all right. And they should. You're right. But it is what it is. I mean, what you're seeing is dudes are getting increased. They're checking out increasingly more and more, and then females that know how to adjust to that won't have a problem. That's why I don't really. You don't got to tell dudes to get married if women are actually worth being married. It ain't like women that are worth being married are having a problem finding a husband. If they're having a problem, and chances are usually they aiming to their standards are not realistic. It's not, and they can say what they want to about where these men are and all that, but hey, that is what it is. But anyway, with that being said, this is Edward. It's been a great conversation. Appreciate everybody that super chatted. We did 2 hours and 20 minutes. This is Edward signing off. Peace.